everybody, my name's Eric Hopkins. This is my good buddy Brandon, and we are Sexual Chocolate 2.0 and the Cracker. So I figured we'd start that out. Brandon's just like, bro, that's terrible. But
I thought that was done.
Is it played out now? Okay, well, I guess I'll just
I thought it was over. I thought we moved past it.
Mike suggested, what was it, Chocolate Thunder and the White Blunder? You could always go that way. So
you know what?
That's not too bad. We can always go that route. No, moving on.
I couldn't even think of anything smart ass to say.
Well, I decided to roll with it, see what your reaction would be. So yeah, I guess we'll go with that tonight. But if you're finding this for the very first time, click that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And this is our weekly pro wrestling recap show where we go over all the shows from WWE and AEW, and we're going to be running through Smackdown, Rampage, both from last week, Monday Night Raw this week, NXT, and a little bit possibly talking about their rebrand a little bit, and of course, last night's AEW Dynamite before this big weekend kicks off for AEW's All Out pay-per-view, which we will probably be covering here on the channel as well, but that review probably will not drop until Tuesday morning here on the channel. We'll probably review it Monday night since it's a long holiday weekend. Well, that way we'll have a little extra time here, so just expect that Tuesday morning. We'll probably talk a little Smackdown, maybe some Rampage as well, since we'll kind of do what we haven't covered just yet. But for tonight, though, we've got a big show. We got 5 shows to cover, so let's get into it without any further ado here. Smackdown on August 27th, 2021 opened up with the Becky Lynch segment here. She basically comes down to the ring to a massive reaction. It's because, of course, she just got back at SummerSlam. Why wouldn't she get a big crowd reaction? Of course, they're trying to turn her heel, but she only really does one heelish thing right here. She had a bunch of other women come out. Bianca Belair, first of all, comes out here skipping, twirling her hair, all smiling, like she didn't just lose her title. Like, oh well, so it's like, why aren't you more upset about this? First of all, so she comes out. Basically, she challenges Becky Lynch to a match tonight for the title because why not? Zelina Vega comes out. Carmella comes out. Liv Morgan comes out. They all, it's the typical WWE segment where you start the show, someone's cutting a promo, all the challengers got to come out. I want a match. I want a match. No, I want a match. And then it usually ends up setting up some sort of tag match or something later in the evening. That's just what they do. But in the heelish move that Becky Lynch did pull, by the end of this, she said, I'm not giving you a match to any of you. And she just walked out. So the crowd still cheered her like crazy, but I mean,
they're going to.
Yeah, and she said she didn't regret anything that she had done at SummerSlam when it comes to their booking of burying Bianca Belair. A lot of people think that Becky Lynch might have had a say in that. A lot of people feel like that's WWE's issue more than it is Becky's. I kind of hold both of them accountable a little bit there because Becky could always speak up and say, I don't think this is the right move for Bianca's character. Maybe we shouldn't bury her in 20-some seconds. But she does have to do what they tell her as well. So there's a little bit of tug and pull there. She is definitely one of those in the company, I think, like a John Cena or somebody like that who could speak their mind and maybe get heard. But there's a lot of other people in that company who ain't got that kind of pull. But in her case, she didn't do anything to stop it. But yeah, and I get it from a fighting champion perspective, even if she is still a babyface, that she just came in and she won the belt. Now, again, I criticize on the SummerSlam pay-per-view. I don't care so much that she came in and challenged for a belt if it was the Raw belt. This is the SmackDown belt that she never had. If she'd have been, challenged the Raw title because she never lost that belt, she vacated it when she got pregnant. That's different. She didn't earn a title match here, in my opinion. But I mean, I guess a brawl broke out after this between Belair, Vega, Carmella, and Morgan, and so they set up a fatal 4-way elimination match between these 4 ladies, and Bianca Belair defeated all 3 of them. So it sounds like we're definitely going to be getting Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch, most likely pretty soon. But to me, it's like, I don't know about you, but to me, it's like, okay, we beat Bianca in 20 seconds. I have no need to see that match now. You told me Becky's better by a large margin at SummerSlam, but that's just my opinion. And I want to say there was a couple more of those instances.
I'll say this too, but in the same token, I get the 20 seconds thing or however fast you beat her. We were willing to watch Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg again.
I didn't like that either. But
Not even this one. I mean, after he beat Lesnar,
you're talking about
and
when he beat Lesnar like real fast.
yeah,
I didn't think that
and
was good
yet
either.
we still bought into the fact that Lesnar's this monster. So like, it is what it is.
I understand, and you can talk.
Um,
You can go back as far as Sheamus destroyed Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, which again I did. I just feel like anytime I get it's supposed to be for that shock value, like oh my god, it was so. Or the Kofi Kingston thing was another one.
yeah,
That was more of a burial in perspective of a lot of fans' eyes. But to me, it's just like when you do it that fast, especially on somebody who is holding the championship, it takes away some of their credibility. Um,
but we could say that too. But what about the fact that you have a heel who is your champion,
mhm.
but at the same time he uses tactics and to maintain that title, to keep that title, and yet we still believe that he's a dominant heel.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's a dominant champion. When in reality, if it wasn't for his cronies, he wouldn't be champion.
True.
So it's like, it's where do you want to be? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
What side of the fence you want to be on in this situation? So it was like, all right, I, would I be interested in a straight up match between the two of them? Yeah, because I believe they could tear it down.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
I would love to see that. Bianca get a real match with her.
Which is what I think a lot of people wanted to
Granted,
see at
like
SummerSlam, but
if
with Bill
if
would be better.
yeah, but uh, if this was for the title, say Bianca didn't lose, and Becky came back and staked her claim as she wants to be champ, of a title she didn't have. Okay, cool. I mean, but now we're just getting that, but in the reverse, in the sense of Becky already has it, and she's not going to lose it.
No,
Um,
I wouldn't think.
I, I can't say to the detriment of Bianca because it's really not like she'll be fine chasing the title. Hopefully, they give her something to do. Hopefully, you know, uh, she. I can't say hopefully because they will have a good match. It's Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
just one of those situations where it's like, honestly, what side of the road do you stand on in this situation?
it's
Um, it sucks.
yeah,
Wholeheartedly, it sucks.
yeah.
But if we can get something great out of it, and you can make something great out of it, do so. If nothing else, give that respect back to Bianca.
They've just got this mentality ever since Daniel Bryan was in the company, and they beat him and beat him and beat him and beat him, and he got over with the crowd. He
Hmm.
caught lightning in a bottle for the most part, especially against their booking.
Hmm.
The crowd willed that to happen. Well, and Daniel had some, hand
But
in that
that's
as well. But
and here's
that formula don't always work though.
no.
You can't just beat people and just expect them to get over more for it, which is what I think they're trying to do here.
Hmm.
But somebody like Bianca, you can't just not everybody's. It's going to work for not most people. That's not going to work for,
No.
especially when they put titles on people and then what do? They constantly beat them after putting the belts
Hmm.
on them. That usually hurts them. I mean, it's not going to hurt Charlotte too badly, but the week after she wins the belt, she's jobbing to Nia Jax on Raw.
Hmm.
So well, I guess jobbing is the wrong word. She lost clean. She didn't. She did have some offense, which is another topic of conversation we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I just don't like how they did it. But that's more personal preference, I suppose. But I just feel like from a booking standpoint, you don't beat your top babyface champion for the women's division that you put over in the Rumble, you put over at WrestleMania, you won an ESPY award for one of the best matches of the year, supposedly. And then you just crap on. It felt like they crapped on everything that they set up with Bianca,
Well,
Sasha Banks did with her, all that stuff.
yeah,
But
but they also are another show we'll get into tonight. They kind of did that with their number one tag team contenders. They fucking beat them, pinned one of the actual contenders.
yeah, but there's a whole story element that played around that. But I see what you're saying. Yes, but that is true. And I think the whole point of that segment, which we will get into, was to set up the fact that the stipulation of the cage is going to prevent most of this. So I think that's what they were doing. But yes, you're not wrong. They did beat
Hmm.
the number one, or at least one half of them, so for sure. And like we've talked before, it wasn't straight up. It was what is it, 8-man tag and things
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
8-man
It's
tag.
still a loss though. Absolutely correct. We've talked about that too when champions or whatever contenders lose. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But we'll get into that when we get to Dynamite.
It's just it's like I said, it depends on where you stand on the field, and like I said,
Yeah.
it's always this thing with and to further the point about the Daniel Bryan situation, as audience, I get that you have some sort of dictation of certain wrestlers and where they go. Well, not really where they go in a company, because at the end of the day, you really don't make the fucking decision.
Right.
But your participation is required. Okay.
Right.
But you also got to realize too, at the end of the day, you don't fucking pay their bills, in the sense of you're not the one signing their checks. Somebody else is. You can go, yes, your money that you spend on your tickets, the merchandising, because that shit ain't cheap.
No.
It all goes towards that shit, but ultimately you have no bearing or say so or their job status.
Yeah.
But like we said before, with the whole Daniel Bryan thing, that was lightning in a bottle. That was one of those situations they could not ignore, even if they fucking tried.
Yeah, they had to change their entire WrestleMania main event that year because the crowd was going to burn the building down, I think, if Daniel Bryan didn't win the title that year.
But Daniel Bryan's one of those talents, too, that he backed up everything. And I'm not saying that Bianca can't. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I am saying you're not going to get that again. Once that happened, it will never happen again. It's one of those situations that a company...
In that formula.
Yeah.
You could get somebody as over as him, but maybe not the way they got him over, which I don't even think they got him over. He got him over.
Yeah.
But you're not
going to get that in any company. And I don't mean, I'm not even talking about wrestling. I'm talking about any company in general, any team. And no matter how much you want this person to be here, that doesn't mean that's where they'll be.
You mean the fans?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it depends.
Fan-wise.
I think
it does.
I think a company like AEW would listen a little bit more than WWE would right now. WWE wants to push who they want to push, and if you don't like it, tough. AEW I think would be willing to listen as long as they could make it work. But in that case with Daniel Bryan, like as you said, lightning in a bottle. That was going to happen no matter what. But yeah, that's usually not going to happen nowadays. You could get guys will be over that like that, but maybe not in that way.
But yeah, not in that capacity.
Yeah,
like you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Like not in the way that his was this thing that like once it caught. It
was not going to be stopped. Yeah,
no. And they tried it with Cesaro. Didn't happen. I can't say they did it with Bianca. Bianca's talent is what did it.
Her. And
this is one of those situations where it's Becky Lynch. People have been claiming it was like the CM Punk thing, but Becky Lynch. You know what I mean? Like this is what the people wanted to happen, and it happened.
Thanks to an errant throw by Nia Jax that broke her nose, but hey, it paid off. But we'll talk more about Nia here in a bit. But yeah, so that we'll have to see what happens with Bianca. But I think it just feels a little off right now for her.
It does.
For sure.
It feels disgusting.
It really does. It feels icky. That's a good word.
It's cheap.
Yeah. After this, moving on with SmackDown a little more here. Caleb Braxton approached Paul Heyman in the back, where he was standing with. She was asking where he stands with Roman and Brock Lesnar since Brock came back at SummerSlam, and he's kind of caught in the middle here. Heyman said he stands in the same place he always does, next to his tribal chief. I feel like Heyman's like afraid of Roman, which he should be.
At this point, everybody should be.
Right. Like, so it's playing
Roman
well.
Roman has built this character of like he accepts nothing but absolute loyalty. And if you do not give him that absolute loyalty and show him that absolute respect that he demands, he has no problem dispatching you.
Yeah.
Everybody should have that feeling that Paul Heyman has right now of what do you say in this situation? Yes, in one situation you have the Beast, Brock Lesnar, the Conqueror. But in the other, you got the fucking tribal chief who has no qualm. A man who's beaten Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Which is part of my issue with them setting up Brock Roman again. But sounds like we're not getting it right away, as we'll get into by the end of the show. But because there was no Brock on this show, they actually advertised Brock for this show, and they did not deliver. But WWE's not against advertising things and not delivering, which we'll talk about when we get to Raw. In this case, though, Heyman was trying to enter Reigns' locker room, but the door was locked. And Heyman was still standing in front of the locker room after the break. The Usos walked out of the locker room and noted that Reigns had not arrived yet. They asked Heyman if he knew that Lesnar was going to show up at SummerSlam. Heyman denied knowing that Lesnar was there. So the Usos pointed out that Heyman sent them to the back at SummerSlam, basically alluding to the fact that Heyman might have set them up. Heyman claimed that Reigns sent them to the back, not him. So the Usos were skeptical about this. So definitely some dissension there, especially when it comes to Paul Heyman, which is going to play into that story. Which that's a good wrinkle into the storyline. I have no problem with that. I just felt like, Brock, Roman again. But at the same time, this makes it a little more intriguing, so I'm willing to forgive it more. So it's actually good storytelling. Because when Brock left, we never got an explanation as to why Roman is now with Heyman. So I like the fact that we're at least going to have to get some sort of resolution to this. I wish they'd have told us from the jump.
Well, no, it was one of those situations. So it was pseudo explained. So you remember when Roman showed up, like when he came back and he beat the shit out of the Fiend and Strowman.
When he started this whole gimmick.
Yeah. The next that Friday, was it Friday?
Probably.
Yeah, that Friday when he's in the office of or he might have been backstage. I can't remember. I know he was sitting down, and you could see him here, and you can tell there's somebody next to him by the way he's sitting, but he doesn't address it until he's asked a question, and Paul then speaks for him. Paul, I don't know. I can't remember exactly the reason why he said he was there.
I don't remember them saying.
I can remember.
I definitely don't remember him saying, "I'm not with Brock anymore." Never said that.
Oh, he never said that.
That's the thing I'm alluding, but not so much why he's with Roman, but I mean both to a degree, but more about why are you not with Brock? The real answer is Brock's not there. He was not under contract, basically. But storyline wise, we never got a resolution to that. Now, granted, Heyman's had multiple advocates. He was even advocate for CM Punk at one point. So it's definitely something he's jumped around with. I don't remember what the explanation is why maybe he jumped from Punk to Lesnar either. But at the same time, I just prefer storytelling where we at least get an explanation of why certain things are happening and not just be like, oh, he's with him now. Just give me a little bit of something.
I think it was one of those things. It was like, you always saw him opposing Roman. So it was that thing, like when you saw him with him, it was more or less the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, he is the advocate, or is that what he calls himself?
He's the advocate for.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's like, it's like one of those situations, like in the perspective of like a business, it's one of those, oh, I lost a client, I need a new client.
Yeah, I get that part of it.
You see, but I'm
follow the green. He's going to make me money.
Get more of a reason behind it. Hopefully, that's talked about and we get a reason. But I think more or less it's like one of those situations where like, I lost a client, I need a new client, and then this falls in his lap.
I do like the idea of them not knowing if they could trust him because of his relationship with Brock. So that's good. I want to see them explore that, and that needs to be at the forefront of this feud.
Yes, because that adds a new complex situation to it.
Yeah, even during the match, whenever we get it, like Roman is kind of got his eye on Heyman the whole time, or Brock the same way. Who is Heyman going to help? That's I think that's what they need to do. We'll see if they actually follow through with that, but I like the fact that they're at least teasing this early on here. After this, something we're not going to really talk a whole lot about because not a whole lot really happened here, but Cesaro defeated Chad Gable via a disqualification. No ending to this match, really. Just, again, we can't put anybody straight up over in this feud, which is really weird because it's like both sides could technically lose, and it's not going to damage either one at this point. But I guess we're going to go with DQ here. I guess Otis jumped in and got involved. Caleb Braxton was standing outside and noted Roman Reigns is on his way to the arena. Instead, Baron Corbin showed up in his new Bentley. He won big in Vegas and is doing great now. He's dressing better and finally shaved his bearded hair. He told Braxton to call him Happy Corbin. So we finally get the debut of the long rumored and now confirmed copyright that they paid for of Happy Corbin. We were wondering how they were going to get there, which to me, my biggest problem with this is not so much that they did it, like they basically just took the Cameron Grimes LA Knight gimmick from NXT, where they
minus Ted
DiBiase, and they gave it to Baron Corbin here. My bigger issue with it is the best stuff where he's hitting it big in Las Vegas over SummerSlam weekend was on his social media, and WWE didn't show any of this stuff. This was some comedy gold on his Twitter and stuff, showing him how he was winning money, he lost some, then he win more. He was like having steak dinners with beautiful women, buying expensive cars and suits. It was actually really great. He'd get in the presidential suite at the hotel. They didn't show none of this from what I could tell. And it's like, he just comes out now, hey, he hit it big, and he's now got money again. Yay! And then we're just picking it up there. Other than that, I'm starting to get into the Corbin thing. I mean, the sad stuff was like, okay, this is just pathetic. I have no sympathy for you. But Happy Corbin could be, if it works like Cameron Grimes, it could be entertaining. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's still Baron Corbin, and there's just something about him. It just never hasn't rubbed me the right way since NXT. Say that about a lot of NXT talent, I suppose, here. But he did have a segment here with Big E. I guess he was trying to buy the Money in the Bank briefcase from him in the ring. He kept upping his bid, went from like $10,000, $20,000. I believe his final bid was like $100,000. Of course, Big E turned him down. He said that Corbin could spend his money on a half-eaten sandwich, a pencil, or Arkansas Razorback plush toy because they were in Arkansas. I guess the crowd popped for that. Big E became frustrated with Corbin, though, and he threatened to knock him out, and Corbin's not going to let anything bring him down, though, as he happily walked off. So I guess he's just in too good of a mood. So yeah, that was just kind of a thing. I guess we're going to continue that. Let's see here. We had Seth Rollins responded and congratulated Edge on his win at SummerSlam. He claimed that Edge won his respect. Rollins also wants a shot at the Universal title and thinks he might have to be more like Edge to win it. That's for sure, because if you get a title shot now, I'm going to look at you and be like, you didn't earn nothing. So show me. And if you do that, great. But yeah, until then, I don't. You just got beat by Edge. If anything, Edge deserves the title shot right now, not you. But that's just my opinion on that one. In the back, Roman Reigns walked towards his locker room door. Heyman was waiting for Reigns with his head down. Reigns asked Heyman what he's doing, and Heyman tried to shake his hand. Reigns wondered if he has to open his own doors now. So Heyman did gladly open the doors for him instead. Reigns entered and wondered if Heyman's going to join him. Heyman agreed, and they both entered. So again, it's mostly. Maybe Reigns wasn't teasing so much that he was mad at him. It was just more the Usos not trusting him, and Heyman didn't know what Roman thought. So not bad. Again, good storytelling here.
Good. Here's the thing about this character with Roman: he never really shows his hand until he needs to.
True. So he may have some concerns, but
it's the same thing with the Usos. You know how he was like, he never would really explicitly come out and tell Jay, right? Was it Jay? Jay.
Yeah, because I think Jimmy was the one who was out. Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
That he was mad at him. Mm-hmm. It was just the way he looked at him, or the way he spoke to him. Right. You can hear the discontent in his voice. So it's like when you're a kid and you got in trouble.
Yeah.
But you're out somewhere and your mom couldn't really discipline you right then and there.
I've seen a few of those looks.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, we've all been there.
It's the not knowing
the
what's
fear
going to happen. Yeah. So it's that whole thing, like, you're in trouble, but you just don't know when that punishment is coming. Or your mom telling you, when we get to where we're going, like, me and you are going to have a discussion.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, this is coming. You just don't know exactly when, because like you could get there, she sees family, she's having a good time, whatever, and you think everything's smooth. And in reality, that the thought of that conversation has never left her mind, and she'll say something and you're like, oh, she has forgotten.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So now you're sitting in anticipation of your punishment. That's what it's like in my personal opinion, that's what it seems like it's for Paul right now.
Right.
The anticipation of knowing this isn't right. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where it's going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I want to give WWE credit where it's due here. Mostly Paul Heyman, I'm going to give him credit, because I think everybody knows this whole Roman storyline. Heyman has his fingerprints all over it. He's the one telling most of this story. It's not necessarily Vince or WWE creative. They may have a hand in it, but I think Heyman's kind of directing this storyline. Mostly not
But
only
you gotta
because he's
give
involved.
props to
You do.
Roman.
Oh, Roman
the fact
especially.
that
Yes.
The way he's delivering this whole
Yes.
thing.
And that's what I was about to say. The stuff that he's doing here, because we're not getting Brock against Roman right away, probably at the Saudi show is what I keep hearing. We'll have to wait and see. Even to me, it feels a little too soon. Maybe hold that off till Survivor Series if you're asking me, but that's my opinion. But I like what they're doing here. Since we're not getting Brock right away, it's subtle stuff right now.
Yeah.
Like, is he mad at me? Is he not mad at me? And then he just acts like nothing's wrong right now. And then we're eventually going to get there. I like that. And so kudos to SmackDown there.
Too, you keep that shit in the background.
Yeah, you don't need to bring it to the forefront.
You have Brock destroying these other people on his way to Roman.
Mm-hmm.
Don't necessarily make Brock declare war on Roman, but just let him know you're fucking there.
I mean, I still think they do need to follow up on it.
You still further the tension between Lesnar and Roman, but also Paul is still caught in the middle. You can even have segments where Lesnar stops Paul in the back to speak to him, and Paul doesn't really say anything, but at that time, one of the Usos or both of the Usos walk up and just kind of doesn't say anything.
Right.
Just kind of looks at him, and then they walk off to Roman's locker room, and Paul's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't say anything, I didn't do anything, but you have the mystery of it, and even have, Lesnar do that little smirk thing and walk away. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows the rift that it's causing right now.
Right. I should go back a second here. I did skip over a part here. I guess Edge was not there, I don't think. If he was backstage. But they said Edge discussed beating Seth Rollins in Las Vegas last Saturday. He admitted he had to go to a dark place, but now he can focus his attention on winning the Universal title. So he may still be in line for a shot against Roman. So that kind of ties into what they're doing here. So Seth isn't going away. So this may be where they're going in between next week with Finn Balor, which we'll get into in a second, and when they get to Brock. So Edge and Seth may be slotted in there coming up here soon, which could be intriguing as well.
Because I still want to see some real closure between what happened between, the Shield.
Yeah, and not only that, Seth's been teasing like he wants the title shot, and the fact that they were brothers and stuff for a few months now, a little bit. He's kind of been dropping those hits. So, like he could take on Roman. So I definitely want to see that. And again, this is the best stuff WWE's got going around right now on their main roster, the Roman Reigns stuff. My only nitpick of it is on SmackDown, it seems like it's the Roman Reigns show, and he's on a ton of segments in 2 hours. That is a problem. He doesn't need to be overexposed because you can become stale doing that. And I think some of the, the shine is rubbing off a little bit of Roman here as of late. But it's still the best thing they're doing on their main roster. I'm not going to hurt it too much, but I just feel like you got to be careful with that for sure. A couple things we're just going to kind of fly by here because it's nothing really too big to write home about. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs defeated Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. This was the exact same match they basically had the week prior.
But it's Rick Boogs, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see him getting some wrestling in for once, so that's good. Nothing wrong with that. We did have in the back Naomi return to the SmackDown brand, I guess, to be with her husband Jimmy, which is probably a good thing after some of the things he's had off of the TV show, some things that he's had some issues with. So I'm glad to see her back.
Real quick, I just seen this shit today.
Yep.
Rikishi.
Yes, I saw that.
That's crazy.
I guess his niece, he said, was murdered, which is a shame. So thoughts and prayers go out to Rikishi and his family, and I hope they find whoever they did it. They were hoping to find some information. Let's hope and pray for them. But yeah, absolutely sad. You're right. And that affects the entire Uso family, I'm sure, and all that stuff as well. So definitely for sure. But getting back to the show here, no doubt. I'm not trying to gloss over it at all. It's
I get it. I was just saying, like, I seen it today, and I was just like, what?
It's heartbreaking. Yeah, and then there was something before we recorded here. I don't know, Daphne, some lady from, I think, is it Impact? I don't know much about the wrestler herself, but anyway, I read on Twitter she was a lot of people in the wrestling internet world here was talking about how she was doing an Instagram live video, and I guess she had suicide notes in her head. And I guess the live stream cut out, and I think she might have even had a gun. So there were people who were trying to call police to get over there and try to help her. Hopefully they got there in time, but it sounded like a very dire situation. So let's hope and pray.
Insane.
I don't, like I said, I think it's Daphne Unger, I believe is her name. I don't know for sure. Well, let's pray that she's okay
Yeah.
too. So, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely for sure. But anyway, as I said, Naomi was in the back with Sonya Deville. She's excited to be on the SmackDown brand. Deville claims she didn't even know that Naomi's on SmackDown now. I'm sure that they didn't. They probably just. All right. Deville assumed Adam Pearce made the deal behind her back. So, again, teasing the decision there that we've been getting for a while now with no payoff.
Mm-hmm.
Naomi tried to discuss her accomplishments, but Deville didn't care. She told Naomi she'll think about it. So, we'll see what happens. Rey Mysterio spoke with Dominic behind the curtain before this next match. Sami Zayn then defeated Dominic Mysterio. This is actually a fine match. Nothing wrong with it. Kevin Owens was on commentary as well. Yeah, Sami Zayn won here, but Rey Mysterio also came down during the match. I don't believe he got involved, but Rey tried to talk to Dominic. He was pushed away by Dominic, and Dominic walked off in anger as Rey tried to talk to him after the match. So Dominic frustrated. You can say it's warranted or not warranted with some of the things with Rey. It just depends how you look at it. They're booking it in a way like sometimes Rey tries to help and it costs him a match. Other times it's just frustration on Dominic's part because he's not winning, which is a good thing. I want wins and losses to matter. So I hope that's why he's getting upset. But yeah, it sounds like we're leading to probably a Dominic heel turn and a singles run.
We talked about this before, like months ago. We spoke about this because it was like after they lost the titles. Where do we go from here? And like I said then, and I say now, I think a match between father and son would be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where it's going to go.
I think that's a good barometer to see how far along Dominic has become. I mean, why not get in there with one of the best, Mexican luchador wrestlers of his time, of our time, and I mean, it's your dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's one of those situations like, yeah, I would do it in a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. Then we had the main event, which is basically a family celebration with Roman Reigns and the Usos. Again, Roman on the show again. So I guess the main event match was Sami Zayn and Dominic, which interesting. But obviously the main event is Roman Reigns. It always is going to be right now. I guess Finn Balor made an appearance here. He didn't get much of a reaction. The fans were likely expecting Brock Lesnar, so that's probably why. But they popped when Brock appeared in the SummerSlam highlights all night. Reigns and Usos held up their titles, and the pyro went off, as they always do when they come out. Heyman held on to Reigns' title, as he always does. The fans erupted in boos. Reigns held up the mic, but did not speak, and the fans booed again. Reigns then handed Heyman the mic and whispered to him. Heyman told the fans that Reigns permits them to acknowledge their tribal chief. Reigns whispered to Heyman yet again, and Heyman then praised the Usos. Heyman then discussed Reigns beating John Cena. Suddenly, Balor's music hit. He came out, and he made his way to the ring. Balor pointed out that he got screwed out of his title shot at SummerSlam. Not wrong. Not necessarily, again, don't know if Balor earned it, but he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong about that. Cena came out and signed his contract, so he's got a point. Balor admitted he was going to challenge Reigns for the title shot at Extreme Rules. Instead, Balor wants a title shot next week, though, on SmackDown, which is, I guess, where the match is signed to happen this week. The fans popped for Balor's challenge. Balor threw the mic at Reigns, and a brawl broke out. The heels overwhelmed Balor due to the numbers advantage, but that's when the Street Profits ran out for the save. Balor and the Street Profits cleared the ring, and Balor hit the coup de grace on Jimmy Uso. So SmackDown ended with Michael Cole wondering if Reigns would accept Balor's challenge, and I believe it has been confirmed since then. So it appears we're going to probably be getting the Street Profits versus the Usos for the tag
That'll
team
be
titles.
dope.
That'll be good. But again, what have they done? They've been I shouldn't say what they haven't done nothing because they've been kind of getting the better of the Alpha Academy a bit, but even so, it's kind of like here you go. I agree. They just have no contenders. That's the problem,
and that's that's a huge problem. For all their merits here of having all these superstars, they do a shit job at certain.
They build up who they want to build up. Everybody else they don't build, and then they don't have nobody to challenge. That's the problem, and it makes for bad pro wrestling, really, when it comes to the booking. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad Roman is over. I'm glad Bobby is over. But you've beaten everybody, and you've not kept anybody else strong. 50-50 booking and all this nonsense. And so when you get somebody like a Balor going to challenge, it's like, all right, you brought him up from NXT. He was great in NXT. Don't get me wrong. Maybe you could argue that his accomplishments in NXT, but it's so he kind of bypassed everybody else on the main roster to get the title shot. Yeah. But that notwithstanding,
you got to make that argument though. You gotta say, okay, and it's not like he hasn't been there before. You can even
Right.
bring that up. You've accomplished a lot, except for this title.
Well, he had
You
the
know.
first Universal Championship. He did win that
Oh
belt.
yeah, he did win
So,
that
and
belt.
he never technically lost it either. He was out
Uh-uh.
due to injury. But, I mean, you could go that route. I guess say I never lost it, but he's had many matches since then, and he's not tried to claim, hey, I never lost it. But, yeah, I still would like to see the Demon go against Roman. But I don't think that's going to happen. But never say never. Like I said, if you can't beat him the first time, maybe he pulls that out of the hat. Not saying he would want to do it because he's been on record saying he don't want to do that no more. But not saying Vince ain't going to be like, ha ha, bring the Demon in. We'll squash that gimmick too. But we'll see what happens. But all right, let's move through Rampage real quick here since it's only a 1 hour show. A good show, I thought, but again, not a whole lot really to write home about storyline wise per se. There's a few things that happened, especially the first few segments. Well, I guess a little more important than I thought. Lucha Bros defeated the Jungle Express to advance to the All Out pay-per-view against the Young Bucks for the Tag Team Championships inside a steel cage. Me and you have talked about how we thought narratively it made more sense for the Jungle Express since they were the ones who lost their last tag team title shot against the Young Bucks due to all this outside interference. And since the cage is going to keep all that out and keep the opponents in, that would be a good storyline to tell. However, I guess they decided to go with the Lucha Brothers, which you've even mentioned you want to see that match, and I think it will be a great match. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, we're going to see them again." My only, to push back on that a little bit is we have seen Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers before, absolutely. But the last time they wrestled was like a year ago, and they've never gotten an AEW title match. They wrestled for the AAA titles, but so it's one of those things. They haven't done it in a long time. It's not as big of a deal to me, but I see the criticism if people do have it.
I'm gonna call a spade in this situation. You know me. You know that I'm a huge fan of the Lucha Brothers. I mean, from their days in Lucha Underground is where I first laid eyes on both of those guys, and was infatuated with Pentagon or Penta. And then Ray Phoenix later on, because like he was hurt when I first started watching it, and then when he came back, it was huge. And then them going to AEW was a big thing for me. I marked out that night.
Yeah, I remember. I
lost my shit.
And they've been great ever since. Let's not, no doubt.
And every
they
time
deserve a shot. Yeah,
yes, but they did not earn this shot.
Well, what if I
Eddie
go that
Kingston and Penta did, because they're the ones who beat the Bucks while Phoenix was out and while Moxley was out.
Was that in a 6-man though?
No, that was a tag team match.
Can't remember. I mean, yes. Well, see, then you're also thinking, okay, they beat the Champs. That's WWE booking. Okay, maybe they pinned the Champs, but the Lucha Brothers also did just win a tag team title eliminator tournament. So yes, they did win to earn it.
Listen to me.
Okay,
I get that too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you had them wrapped up in another storyline with
that's true.
Pac and Idolo. So again, you were building up, in a sense, Jungle Boy, his whole stock, and Luchasaurus. A team who I like. I liked them when I saw them the first time. But they've done really nothing with the exception of Jungle Boy. And then you give them this thing where, they lose against them because of all this interference. And it's like you put in this huge stipulation of whoever wins this, you get the Young Bucks in a cage. That right there makes all the narrative sense for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, Jurassic Express, to then win this tournament. Because you literally have the Bucks and Lucha Bros, who are two of the best tag teams of the best, not the best, but they're two of
in the world today. Yes,
in the world today.
Love them or hate the Bucks. Either way, you got to admit they're good at what they do.
So this tournament Lucha Brothers did not need this tournament to rise up in the rankings for a tag match, like for a title match. Like this tournament benefited from them, and you could have used them in a sense to elevate.
You could.
Who needed that win more? Lucha Brothers or Jurassic Express? If Jurassic Express was to beat the Lucha Brothers, their stock would have went up tenfold.
Well, I agree. I mean, again, I still think it was probably the better call to maybe put Jurassic Express there, but I don't know if either one of them needed it real badly, though. I think they're both pretty over.
In the sense of, is Jurassic Express more over than the Lucha Brothers? No.
Maybe.
Is Jungle Boy over more than the Lucha Brothers? 100%.
Because Jungle Boy's over, though, so is Lucha. I don't know so much about Marco Stunt, but Lucha is over
Marco
because
Stunt
of...
Lucha's over because
he's over.
of what he's done previous.
That too, and because Jungle Boys and they always put on consistently good matches, the crowd just loves all of them. But I don't know if it would have helped either team more. Like say Lucha needed it more or Jungle Express needed it more. I think either one is fine, but I just think narratively it did make more sense that to get the cage match because they lost most recent. Now there's been a lot of teams lose to the Elite because of the interference. Granted, so you almost could have put any team in there, and that story's still going to work.
Yeah,
but since they were the most recent,
too, like I was starting, that shit was getting old.
Yeah, well, and they do it again on Dynamite this week, but I think they're driving that point home. That's why we'll get into Dynamite. But
and I get that too, and I get what you're saying about it's supposed to be this big parody, but like,
yeah. That too, and it's supposed to be to give you that. Oh, I hate these guys. But to some people, as Mike said in his video, I'm going to put up today as well. A little bit. He worries that about AEW with citing a lot of WCW type maneuvers and things like that. He said that the Young Bucks have go away heat for him, which a lot of people they do.
But it's starting to get like that for a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's not good.
No,
I mean, to me, it's more of I want to see him get beat, but there are other people who feel that way, so I can't discount that.
But more or less now, it's a lot of people who want to see him get beat, but not get beat in the sense of you want to come up. It's just you're tired of seeing them.
Yeah, and I think they are going to lose the titles against the Lucha Brothers, which is going to be a great moment because not only that, the way Dynamite ended kind of alluded to that maybe the case, but
and I told you if they don't, this is just getting out of hand.
Right, and they even set up at the end of Dynamite like Kenny may lose, but I don't think that's going to happen. But that's coming too. But yeah. But regardless of whether you like the ending of whoever won this finals for the Eliminator tournament, still go, if you have not seen Rampage, to watch this match, though. Lucha Brothers and Jungle Express tore the house down. It was a great match.
Oh, yeah, it was a great match.
Go watch that. It was really good. It was probably one of the best, probably of that week, probably the best match of the week. After that, we had Miro. He bullied Fuego del Sol. They're playing off the fact that many people feel like he didn't earn his contract, so they're following it up at least, whether you agreed it was part of the stip or whether they ignored it or not. But he basically beat up Fuego del Sol, drug him out to the ring, ripped his mask off, and that's what brought out Eddie Kingston. He made the save to help Fuego here, setting up their TNT Championship match at All Out. So he got involved in Miro's business. And, of course, Miro's been calling out Eddie Kingston for weeks now. So Eddie Kingston finally, showed up and showed out, and we're going to get the match at Sunday's pay-per-view. We also had the Bunny defeated Ty Conti. This was a little odd. I thought Ty Conti was kind of higher up in the rankings, which I think she is, but it was a little weird to see the Bunny win here. But, of course, she did have a little help from Penelope Ford, who looks to be joining the Hardy family office. Seems like Matt Hardy is expanding his repertoire of characters here at his faction. So that's I don't know where Kip Sabian's going to come when it comes to all that, but I think he's out right now due to injury. So then the main event, we had Christian and Frankie Kazarian defeated Kenny Omega and Brandon Cutler. Kenny did not take the pinfall here or anything like that, but he did, however, leave Cutler high and dry because he did not want to get into the ring much with Christian. So Cutler basically took the 2-on-1 assault as the show went off the air. So again, not a bad Rampage. I think the show was pretty good. They're 3 for 3, but I see some of that.
This cowardly shit gets old for me as well.
Well, it's coming to an end. Don't worry. Like we predicted here, eventually Adam Hangman Page is going to win a belt. We don't think Christian's going to win it. Now, he could, but I just don't think they're going to do that. Kenny will probably hold on to the belt a little longer, but the cracks in the armor of the Elite are going to start to show when the Bucks lose the belts. And I think that it's just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse for Kenny as we move into Adam Hangman Page, either at the end of September or November, whenever they pull that trigger. It's coming, probably by the end of the year, so be patient when it comes to that. But, yeah, I agree with you. The Elite stuff is getting to that point where I think fans are going to stop wanting to see that. So, and I think they're aware of it, so we'll see. But if they continue it for the next 6 months, I will have more to say about it. And that's right now.
It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, man, I get it. I get you guys are making fun of this, that, and the third. But there's a point where you start living the ridicule or living the joke.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get it. I understand. Mm-hmm. It's funny. but now it's just getting old.
Yeah. And sometimes, as we've seen many times in WWE, funny can be funny once or twice, but if you continue it, it can be a problem. So that's what a lot of people are having with it. I mean, it's not bothering me as much as some, but I get the argument here for sure. So I can't deny that. You're absolutely right. All right, so Monday Night Raw. Let's get into this show that apparently Vince McMahon was very angry backstage before this show aired, and I guess he ripped up the scripts as he a lot of times has, which led to a lot of things on this show really not making a lot of sense. The show was basically highlighted by an excellent triple threat match. So if you want to see some good wrestling on Raw, you got it here. Damian Priest versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre for the United States title. Not only was it a very good match and lasted 22 minutes, so good length, good, not bad there, awesome. And not only that, Damian Priest pinned Drew McIntyre, not Sheamus. So the U.S. champion looks strong. Drew McIntyre gave him the rub, gave him the handshake after the match. Good. I'll say this. Not only we'll get into this a little bit with. I'll say here. Well, Damian Priest looks good. An NXT guy they've not had lose on the main roster yet. Wins the U.S. title. Wins over last year's biggest star and probably the number 2 star in the company behind Roman. Drew McIntyre. Him, Riddle are 2 NXT guys. They've really not screwed up yet. So as much as we criticize them for Karrion Kross and some of these other NXT call-ups, so far, I'm stressing that, so far, Riddle and Damian Priest seem to have broken that glass ceiling on the main roster. Let's hope they maintain that. How long that they like them and keep them on top and not ruin them, we don't know. Riddle, for me personally, this is just my personal opinion, his gimmick is not my favorite. So Riddle to me is kind of getting to that young buck territory for you, as it were.
Yeah.
Where it's getting that go-away heat. However, it was funny this week where I guess he was saying that somebody in the ring sucked, but not as much as a Roomba, because they're supposed to suck. And that's when Randy Orton just kind of took it, like, put his mic down like, dude, like he knew it was garbage. But whether, I don't know who writes Riddle stuff, but that they need to change what they're writing for him. But other than that, he's a great wrestler. Damian Priest is a good wrestler. I'm glad to see they're at least trying with these guys, and let's hope that continues. So I'll give them credit where it's due here, no doubt about it. They can book properly when they choose to. Unfortunately, the most memorable thing about tonight's show, or Raw's show, I should say, will end up being the exceptionally bad match between Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair. Not to mention Nia Jax almost killing Rhea Ripley after Rhea Ripley's match when she tried to get involved. She hit Rhea so hard from behind with a clothesline, she knocked Rhea into the rope, made her whiplash off the rope, and it looked like it sucked for Rhea Ripley. Nia Jax is not safe. It's been documented for a while now. But it worked for Becky Lynch, but a lot of other people she just injures. I guess we're just also dropping the tease of Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte from last week because Alexa was actually at the building. A lot of people were speculating, why wasn't she on the show? COVID or whatever. No, she was at the building. They just chose not to use her, probably due to the fact that they ripped the script up before the show, and they just decided instead we're going to push Nia into the title match. A match that basically no one wants or needs or cares to see. Especially after tonight when Nia beats Charlotte clean in this match that, I don't know if you saw this. Did you see any of this? These shots? Okay. Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax, midway through this match, appear to get in a shoot fight. As in, real. Like, at one point, Nia drops Charlotte pretty much on her head. Charlotte gets up and just appears to be absolutely pissed off at this. She starts slapping Nia Jax. Nia Jax is no selling any of this. She tried, and then Nia grabs Charlotte by the hair, starts punching her legit in the face. Charlotte ends up grabbing her in a headlock, trying to kind of hold her down. And then at one point they kind of break off and they start shoving a little bit more like this, And then Nia runs up against the rope. From what I understand, the spot was supposed to be for Nia to do a Samoan drop on Charlotte. Well, when Charlotte ran back, Nia just stood there, didn't sell a thing. So Charlotte jumps on her shoulders and they both eventually go down. I know Dave Meltzer talked about, he thought that this was, he talked to people in the company who said it was a work shoot, but here's the thing. If it was a work shoot and they planned this, it would have looked better. This looked completely clunky. It just came off as bad professional wrestling. So I don't know what happened between these two ladies here, but probably because Nia was being some reckless wrestling here or whatever. Maybe Charlotte took that one way. I don't know. There's a lot of things that be going on here, but this did not look good at all.
I'll tell you right now, if it was a real fight,
Nia was going to win. Probably.
That headlock that took place would have never fucking happened. The moment she grabbed
Good
Charlotte
point.
and started punching her in the face, and no one really tried to break it up.
Well,
Like-
Nia went in to grab her low, and that's when Charlotte locked it. So,
That would have never happened in a real fight.
well, assuming they know how to fight like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're just trying to tackle somebody, maybe. I'm not
Have
saying.
you seen what an angry Samoan does?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it
Do you
was
not
real or
remember
not.
the
To me,
Jimmy
it looked
Snuka
real,
thing
but
with the coconut
uh
and how he dented a door
yeah,
trying to get to Roddy Piper.
right.
That same blood may not be Jimmy Snuka blood, but it is still Samoan blood.
Right,
Pumps through that woman's veins.
right.
Name me one person who has a good story about an angry Samoan. Do you remember
Well,
Haku?
Well, I understand that, but I mean, like I said, I'm not saying this is real or not, but to me, it looked it.
not.
I mean, and Meltzer said the same thing. But however, Alvarez on the show also said that, of course, somebody in the company probably told him that, but at the same time, they're not going to tell you if it was a real fight. They're not going to tell you they started fighting in the ring.
But
So
they
even if
also
they did,
not gonna let them actually come to blows in that fucking.
well, the
ring.
referee was trying to stop it, but I mean, you got two women in the ring. If it actually gets to that
real,
point, there's nothing they can
true
do about
fight.
it.
As much as you don't see Vince McMahon, you would have saw Vince.
You think it would have ran out? I mean, that's possible.
I
Like I said, I don't know.
guarantee you.
I'm just
He's not
speculating.
gonna let his money fist fight each other in his ring.
Well,
Like,
put it
that's
this
not-
way: real or
if-
not, it got people
if-
talking.
If it was real, it was a real true fight. I don't give a shit who Charlotte Flair is
Mhm.
or Nia Jax. They both would have gotten in trouble,
Right.
and probably both one would have got fired or they both would have got suspended. Plain and simple.
You would think.
He
I
would've-
know a lot of people feel
if-
like Nia's only there
For
because
all
of her
the
relationship
shit
to The
we
Rock.
Talk about Vince. Vince still runs a business. There's no way USA would be okay with having two women get into a legit fist fight on their programming.
Do you think that they'd fire Nia though because they have her relationship to The Rock
Over
though?
the two? Yeah, over the two, yes.
Really? You think they'd fire her even though she's related to The Rock and they want Rock desperately at WrestleMania?
I don't think it has
And
that.
you
big of
don't
a
think
bearing.
Rock would be like, no, I'm not working for you. You fired my cousin.
I don't think Rock's that cynical.
You don't
Rock
think
would
so?
understand this is business, and you know.
There are
Nia
some people
Jax
who feel
did this
differently,
to Jax.
But
It's the same way it was like with the Usos. If they got fired, I'm 100% sure they did that. They could have prevented. That's something they could have prevented, but they didn't. You get what I'm
Right.
saying?
yeah, right.
Like, even as a family member, you still have to. You're still a grown man.
Mhm.
You're a grown woman. You make decisions based on. I can get your foot in the door. Yes. Like, say I got you to work. I got you a job. Okay.
Mhm.
I got you said job. You do something to get fired. It's not on me. That's on you. I helped you get your foot in the door. Yes.
Right.
In a company that I worked for so many years, built up this great reputation with. It looks bad on my part if I then go, well, no, you fired my friend for what he did. It's not fair. Like, I got your foot in the door. It's up to you to maintain that. If you do something to screw that up, that is on you.
Right. Well, I mean, like I said, well, we could debate back and forth whether or not we thought it was real. I encourage you to go watch this. I know you said you didn't see it. Go check it out for yourself and see what you think just after seeing it, because it does look it like. And again, to my original point, I feel like if it was a work and it was planned, it would not have came off and looked that bad, because it looked like legit. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So it, to me, that makes it. Now again, that may have been a plan to make it look real. I don't know. But to me, it's like if you're going to do a shoot, though, it's going to look legit. That looked like it was.
It's not if you're going to do a shoot. A shoot is what happens, really. You know what I mean? Like, I've legit punched somebody in the face in the ring.
There's a couple times like where Charlotte would duck
That's a
down
situation.
and Nia was going to hit her, but Charlotte kept ducking. It was like, what the heck is this?
This
But-
is not a real fight. Like, a real
Well,
fight is.
Like I
just,
said,
you know,
I encourage you to watch it. But we'll see what you think after that. But
got your fruit brawls in my time.
right.
I know how these things work.
Well, regardless of what you think about that, Nia does. They finally got back on track, and Nia does pin Charlotte clean in this match. So the women's champion from a few days prior at SummerSlam loses clean in the middle of the ring to Nia Jax to set up a women's title match. Like I said, why would we need to see this now? You just showed us that Nia is better. That's the common problem with WWE and their champions, but that notwithstanding, this is definitely worth go checking it out. Form your own opinion and comment down below and let us know what you guys think.
What if you continue the match? If we just got to a fist fight, like there's no continuing this.
Because they're trying to be professionals? I don't know. I'm just saying, go check it out. It's worth at least checking it out to see what you think, regardless, for sure. I encourage everybody to see it. The 3 matches they advertised last week did not happen on this show, so once again, WWE... I was happy for them last week. They actually announced 3 matches ahead of time because I thought, okay, they're going to deliver. They delivered none of it here. Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus, Miz versus Morrison, and Doudrop versus Eva Marie, all of which did not take place. They kind of teased the Eva Marie Doudrop match, but it never happened. The Miz was not on this show, so newly turned babyface John Morrison got squashed by Omos. If they are saving that match, way to build up one of the participants to make me want to see that, by the way. Mm-hmm. I get you're not going to beat Omos. You're trying to build him too. But if you're going to build a match between 2 people and you want us to see it, don't beat one of them. That's what they did with John Morrison here. They're not going to do anything with him, unfortunately. So let's see here. Looks like they are going to be setting up a Bobby Lashley versus Randy Orton title match, though. That sounds like the approach they're taking. There's also a lot of talk about possibly Bobby Lashley versus Damian Priest. I hope they don't do that because Damian, like we mentioned, is in a good spot right now. Do not feed him to Bobby Lashley. Don't. Because he does not need to be losing right now. And neither does Bobby, really. Unless you're going to take the belt off of him. But I don't think it's time for Damian Priest to do that, period. So I think Randy Orton makes more sense. Probably get beat by Bobby. But because they did a tag team match at the end of the show. The rest of the results for the show that, again, not a whole lot happened, but I'll talk about a couple of things here. Rhea Ripley defeated Shayna Baszler. Sucks to be Shayna. Just once again. And that's, of course, when Nia about killed Rhea after the match, too. So, again, we got a couple segments here with Nia Jax. Definitely pushing her on the show.
I don't know.
Shayna just needs to get out. And you can almost see it in her face. I granted, she's supposed to be feigning disappointment on television anyway, but it almost looks like she's over it at this point. And you can just tell sometimes with body language. And she definitely appeared that way. Viking Raiders... go ahead.
Unless your whole story is to, for her to go, you know what, I need to get back to where I was.
Well, I think they got no other choice but to do that. Not saying they planned that, though.
I mean, what I'm saying is, if this is the story you're going with, you're going to have to start paying it forward at some point. Mm-hmm. Either she has to come out, do a little promo saying, I don't know where I went wrong, what happened. One night I show up, bite somebody, and then the next.
Yeah, I'm teaming with Nia Jax. We break up. We're back together a couple weeks later for no reason. And now we're kind of fighting again, and she loses the singles match. So
some sense of fucking direction.
They're all over the place with it. Viking Raiders defeated Jinder Mahal and Veer. Seems like the gender faction or whatever it might be is kind of going into jobber territory now after Drew McIntyre thing is over. Akira Tozawa was on all fours dressed as a dog being fed dog treats by R-Truth in the park. Enough said there. As they were trying to get the 24/7 title from Reginald. So more park flippy flip stuff with trampolines off screen. And yeah, Tozawa dressed as a dog on all fours. You laugh, but, I'm laughing for another reason, not because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because I can't believe this is terrible. But, hey, brother, whatever.
You got somebody else to sprays hairspray in people's eyes the whole damn time. Okay?
That's better than this.
It's the same dude. It's the same dude that put fucking, what was it, rubbing oil on himself?
Well, you don't do that no more. But, no, that's Cutler. That's Nakazawa. Yeah, Tozawa, Nakazawa, but yeah, Cutler. No, he was the one. But again, he's also waving flares in front of dinosaurs like in Jurassic Park. So, I get it, but this just. I'm sorry. This is worse than that. That's at least creative and funny. This is humiliating. Is what it is.
The same dude that had a match over a goddamn D&D game.
Who?
Brandon Cutler and the Librarian had a match over a fucking D&D game.
When on Dark or something? So I don't recall watching this.
It was called Evolution. No, it was an actual fucking Dynamite match.
I don't remember that one, but not saying. No, I'm not saying that. I just don't remember it. Next, we had Doudrop versus Eva Marie. Like I said, never happened because Eva faked a neck injury before the match even started. So
how do you know it was fake? It might have been real.
Don't book it.
Don't know Eva Marie's life.
Don't book it, then, bruh. Don't. Come on. Doudrop. They basically announced her. Eva Marie is the loser. This whole gimmick thing they're doing. Karrion Kross defeated Humberto Carrillo. What was the point of beating him week 1 if you're just going to have him dominate everybody now? I mean,
Humberto Carrillo. It was about humility. Okay.
Yeah, I know they were trying to teach him a lesson, but now, but he's been killed ever since. He's not been able to recover. He comes out to no reaction like Nikki Ash does. So the Karrion Kross thing to me, he's dead on arrival here. He's not going to recover.
Karrion Kross should have never left NXT.
Well, he might not have had a choice in the matter. But even so, they booked him poorly from the get-go. Had he beat to Jeff Hardy or lose to Jeff Hardy, and then it was dead.
Whether or not they built him or beat him or not, I think he still would have ended up the same way.
Do you think so? If they'd have kept Scarlett with him, it might not have. I mean,
the crowd still would have reacted the way they react now to him.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with the crowd. Probably would not have given him a much of a reaction to start with because a lot of the main roster crowd doesn't watch NXT, which is ridiculous. Now I understand it because of what they're going to do with NXT. But so yeah, opening night, yeah, they probably wouldn't have given him much of a reaction. But you bring him out week one, you have him lose, it's going to get worse. If you had him win and win and win all these weeks, maybe they would eventually start to get behind the guy, but not the way they started it. They ruined him from the jump.
Main roster fans have who they cheer for.
I get that, but when you bring up a new star, they should be giving him a chance. But when you have them job like that, that's not going to help their case. Like I said, Omos defeated John Morrison. AJ Styles defeated Xavier Woods. Again, where's Kofi Kingston? Yeah, so there's that. And then, of course, the main event, RK Bro defeated Bobby Lashley and MVP to retain their tag team titles when Riddle pinned MVP. So at least they did not pin Bobby Lashley.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to look up this Kofi Kingston thing.
I don't know what's going on with him. But yeah, I mean, other than that, that's really about all there was to write home about. It was mostly, and the main event with the tag team titles, good, no doubt about that. AJ versus Xavier was pretty good, but the triple threat match was, so there was some good wrestling on this show. But there's a lot of stuff in between that, to me, is just no good or made no sense. Just kind of typical Monday Night Raw. And again, talking about Formulaic on SmackDown, Formulaic Monday Night Raw starts out with Damian Priest comes out and apparently says the new catchphrase. It's the new Saturday Night Live. It's live and it's Saturday night. He can come out. Everybody has to say now, welcome to Monday Night Raw. I know that Vince said that back in '93, but it seems like for weeks now, the first person to come out on Raw says that. It's become a thing. And, of course, after that, one guy comes out, I want a shot. This guy comes out, I want a shot. WWE Champion Bobby Lashley says, I want 2 belts. And then here comes the Tag Team Champions. Hey, we want 2 belts. So, again, it's the typical formulaic WWE start to a show. I'm kind of over that. Did you find anything on Kofi?
He's been taken off road because he hasn't been cleared to wrestle.
Well, even if he's not cleared to wrestle, though, why can't he be in the corner of Xavier? I mean, that, again, it's a little thing like that. Like, we know he's not there. Say something. But anyway, I don't want to linger on it too long. But let's get into NXT here. We've got a few more shows to cover before the night's out. The show started off with Ilya Dragunov in the ring. He was speaking here. He said he's actually sporting stitches over his eye. He walked with a limp since his instant classic with Walter because, Walter, then we had a classic. Dragunov recently won the NXT UK Championship at TakeOver in a war with Walter, and Dragunov begins his speech by telling the crowd he is still alive after his recent battle, though. Not only is he alive, Dragunov is more alive than ever before. He feels like a man that survived the most intense battle of his life. Dragunov likes it here at NXT, and we will see him again soon. Dragunov went to ask who is willing to take the NXT UK title from him. He said, the ring general has fallen, but long live the Tsar. That was that. Arash Markazi sat down with Kaylee Ray for an interview. Kay buries the rest of the roster as she claims William Regal brought her in to dominate NXT in the USA like she did it in the UK. But to me, it's more like you beat all the USA women's roster, so they got to bring in some UK talent for Raquel Gonzalez. That's the way I look at this a little bit. Mackenzie Mitchell was interviewing the breakout tournament winner Carmelo Hayes when they were interrupted by El Legado del Fantasma. This seems to set up a match between Santos Escobar and Carmelo Hayes. So is the Hit Row stuff over? Or they just they did kind of a blow off. Last week,
did.
But I just didn't know if it would continue after that or not. Maybe not.
Mm.
I just thought they were going to do a North American title match between Escobar and Swerve, and
Escobar hasn't earned it. I think
they won. They won last week, did they? Pretty sure they won that big match. Escobar got the win after a distraction, I believe. Yeah, if I remember correctly. But anyway, we'll see. Imperium and well, I guess it's Bartel and Eichner, defeated Drake Maverick and Grayson Waller. What is, did Killian Dane leave? I mean, what's going on over there? Drake Maverick's teaming with Grayson Waller all of a sudden.
Drake was doing some solo shit for a while too.
Yeah, he was. So maybe he just moved on. I don't know here. Yeah, so Imperium beats him. It's basically the young guy being taught the lesson is the moral of this story here with Imperium beating up on Drake Maverick. So yeah, there was that. Ridge Holland in a pre-tape promo threatened to send Ciampa to the hospital. I think he means medical facility, though. That's supposed to be the term they use on WWE. If it's going to become a third brand here with basically Vince and Bruce Pritchard, helming up the production, which is the report that came out yesterday. So yeah, we're going to be getting more main roster-esque production on NXT. We're probably going to be getting 3D graphics, brighter lights, and not going to have that indie feel to it. We've already seen some main roster booking on this show, but Vince and Bruce Pritchard apparently are going to be taking over. So enjoy NXT as it is for now, because in a couple weeks it's probably going to be changing to the new bright, shiny, colorful logo you see here on your screen. So we'll see what they do. But Gigi Dolan and JC Jane apparently attacked Sarai backstage before her match with Mandy Rose. Then we had LA Knight defeating Johnny Gargano with Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis at ringside. It's basically boiled down to Gargano went sailing off the apron. Gargano fell into the arms of Dexter Lumis, and this upset Gargano. So he had some words with Lumis, and Gargano was distracted. So here we go. Main roster finish, a distraction, and then Knight struck with his signature headlock DDT, and he steals the victory over Johnny Gargano because he was distracted by Dexter Lumis. So there's a little bit of main roster booking for you. I don't know. Okay, great. I'm glad to see LA Knight get a win for sure, but and it does continue the feud with Gargano and Lumis for sure. Mm-hmm. But so to that effect, I get it, but it's just kind of like, all right, you could just have LA Knight maybe beat him straight up. I don't know. I guess.
Why though?
You could. It's not going to hurt Gargano. It's really not.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So, I guess that's what they chose to do. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but at the same time, I don't know. The NXT Tag Team Champions, MSK, went to meet with William Regal. The champs wanted to give Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch a title shot. William Regal agreed, and he books the tag title match for next week. So we're going to be getting a title match on next week's NXT, which has already been taped, and I believe it's the last taping that they've done before they implement the new changes. So one more week of the old black and gold NXT at least. NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez defeated Jessica Maya in a non-title match. Pretty much a glorified squash match. Monet and Gonzalez glared holes through each other with Frankie Monet at ringside. Gonzalez won the match after using her chokeslam finisher. Her next challenger appears to be Frankie Monet, even though they're teasing the Kaylee Ray stuff. I'm sure they're going to build to Kaylee Ray, though. Yeah. Ember Moon was back on NXT, which is a good surprise to see. It was her birthday, and Moon cuts a promo on Kaylee Ray. So Moon will be challenging Kaylee Ray to a match next week. So it sounds like Kaylee Ray's beating Ember Moon, in my opinion. But good to see Ember Moon back, regardless. And I'm sure there'll be a good match.
Would you do that though?
I don't know if I'd do that or not, especially since you need challengers. But then again, you got to have people wrestle each other. I get all that. But you're right. I don't know if I'd put Moon versus Ray. I don't know if I would do that or not.
It's not like
they're building some of these younger women that we've not really seen a whole lot of. So I can see that.
I don't think it'll hurt Ember in the sense of like your stock has dropped here because you're propelling a younger, newer talent in the sense, with Kaylee Ray.
True. At least in the eyes of the American audiences for sure.
So it's like, okay, cool, I get it. I'm sure it'll be a good match. And I'm 100% sure, Kaylee hasn't been. She's been. Wait, that's the NXT UK chick, right?
Yeah. She's been dominant over there. And to be honest, a lot of people, if you're going to watch NXT USA, a lot of people here would watch NXT UK already on the network. So they probably already have a pretty good idea who she is. Yeah. But there are probably some people who don't watch NXT on the main roster.
And you can get a good match with Ember. Like that's a proven, tried and true step there. So I guess putting her, up against Ember is a good deal. And like I said, I think Ember can lose and still come out smelling like roses in this sense. Mm-hmm.
She's in that territory where she's going to be used to build new talent. And to be honest, she's outside of maybe winning some titles and stuff in certain places. Yeah, she's probably at that point in her career where that's probably the best thing to do with her, no doubt about it. Because they're probably not going to do anything with her. If she wants to pursue other interests outside of that, her best bet is to leave WWE whenever her contract's up. But right now, that's probably where she's going to be slotted in, and for WWE's purposes, probably not the right or not the wrong call, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we had an interview with NXT champion Samoa Joe. Wade Barrett sat down with the newly crowned champion. In his third reign as champ, Joe means to set a precedent as a standard bearer for NXT. Joe came off like a contemporary version of the traveling world champion here. He was a modern-day Jack Briscoe in this promo, so it was a good promo. No doubt about that. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Samoa Joe once this NXT, the changes take effect.
Yeah.
Because we've heard, they want to push no more. Now, granted, Joe's not a small guy, but there's certain talents they want to push. The big body guys that look good, under 30. Joe's not that. So there's going to be some interesting to see how that works out for Joe. I know he re-signed not too long back, but I don't know in the long run how that's going to pay off, depending on how they book it. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm trying to be hopeful here for NXT. Like I said, I thought SmackDown and Raw had some good moments. But if they get to the point where they're booking poorly on NXT, it's going to be just as bad as those other two shows for the most part, and that's going to be a shame.
What sucks is NXT doesn't deserve that.
No, I mean, and here's the thing though, NXT got a small bump in the ratings this week. It wasn't a whole lot; it was like 100,000 people or something like that. But like we talked at work about this, despite whether or not we particularly think Raw and SmackDown is good shows, they do consistently get the much higher ratings than NXT does. So if you're WWE and you see that, you think what you're doing on Raw and SmackDown is working.
Yeah.
So they feel like to make those changes to NXT is the right move. And who's to say that's wrong? Because in the ratings, it shows that is the case.
Yep.
We don't have to, I mean, us, more pro wrestling fans, not so much sports entertainment fans, who would prefer a show like AEW is putting on right now, which I'm glad at least if you're a fan of one thing, you've got that. If you're a fan of the other, you've got that too. So it's a nice opportunity to see different things if you prefer one over the other. But again, I'm not a fan of what they're probably going to do with NXT, but there are those who will be, and we'll see if that does benefit NXT in the long run. We'll just have to wait and see. Roderick Strong defeated Ikemen Jiro. Roderick Strong put out an open challenge here. He opened it strong. The build will continue to Kushida defending the NXT Championship against Strong sometime down the road here. But Ikemen Jiro gets beat here by Roderick Strong. Backbreaker turned the tide and allowed, followed by another backbreaker, and Strong covered Jiro for a pin. Next up,
the cleanest backbreaker.
Yeah, definitely one of the best at that, no doubt about it. Again, another guy, though, I want to see how they treat after. Because Roderick Strong, a lot of these guys in NXT are not typical Vince McMahon type talents. So I worry about your Garganos, your Ciampas, guys like that. We'll just have to wait and see, but hopefully, hoping for the best for these people. Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter face off with the NXT Women's Tag Champions at a backstage interview with Mackenzie Mitchell. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark defend their titles next week on NXT. Shirai and Stark still do not get along, while Carter and Catanzaro are best friends. So still kind of playing up the fact that Io is on her own, but she's doing it because she likes to win and hold the belts. So there's that. Cameron Grimes was back to his old to the moon self, though. So he was confronted by the grizzled young veterans. They had a replica of the $1 Million Championship belt, and they were teasing Grimes with the replica. Grimes dropped the replica on Zach Gibson's foot. Grimes tosses him some cash to help him with the pain and cackles as he walked away. So Grimes just kind of living that life, man, But I guess he's no longer carrying a replica or any sort of $1 million title, as we mentioned last week. So, but good to see Grimes back in a good mood for sure. So we'll get more of that. They ran down next week's card, and of course, our main event was Tommaso Ciampa versus Ridge Holland, with Pete Dunne, Orny Loken, and Danny Burch at ringside. Ciampa pinned Holland clean after a Willow's Bell. So yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, interesting though. They beat the bigger guy here, if you want to think of it in that regard, based on where they're going. But maybe it's kind of one of those deals, better get Ciampa a win now, I don't know. But he dedicated the match to Toothless Timmy as well. Holland went to a power slam Ciampa off the apron, but Ciampa fought free to counter him. Ciampa caught Holland with the Willow's Bell, and he covered him for the clean win. After the match, Dunne attacked Ciampa, and Lorcan and Burch held Ciampa for Pete Dunne. That's when MSK entered the scene to make the save, and they brawled with Lorcan and Burch as the show went off the air. So setting up the MSK match and the eventual Dunne and Ciampa match, which will be a good match. There's no doubt about it, whatever they choose to do it. So we'll see what they do there. But yeah, that was NXT for the week. not a terrible show. A couple booking decisions. I was kind of like, what the? Oh, I don't know if did we even talk about the Mandy Rose match? I think I skipped over it. My apologies. Sarai did defeat.
Did.
Yeah, my bad. I skipped right over. It was I believe it was the first match. Not quite the first match. Yeah, I think it was. It was the match that opened the show. My bad. Sarai defeated Mandy Rose via a count out after Sarai went for her big drop kick on the ropes there, where she basically knocks everybody's head off. And Mandy Rose rolled to the outside, covering her face, and Gigi Dolan and JC Jane basically used the towel to cover her face and helped her to the back. So she was so concerned about her beautiful good looks that she lost the match. That's WWE booking. That's I'm not a fan of. Now, if she was legit hurt, that's one thing, but it came off more of, oh God, my face, my beautiful good looks.
Hey, that's her character, though.
It is.
That plays to, well, not her strengths, but it's her. That's in character. That's in, the realm of possibility in a sense. I mean, Tyler Breeze did it.
Wow, I don't know
when he was the model.
Yeah. My apologies again. I completely skipped over another thing. I went right to the Dragunov promo, and I skipped over 2 matches. I apologize. That's horrible. Right. Kyle O'Reilly also defeated Duke Hudson. So,
oh yeah, I seen that one.
That was pretty good. But yeah, so they set that up last week with the shoving match in the lockers. So they paid that off here. But yeah, and then of course they invited everybody to Index's wedding in a few weeks. But so yeah, I did miss a few things. My apologies.
There are some people who are just brutal in the wrestling ring, who just and got no qualms for just kicking the shit out of each other. Kyle O'Reilly and now Duke Hudson. Duke Hudson is now added to that fucking roster.
Yeah. And that's a guy that fits more Vince's mold. So I'm sure we're going to see more of Duke Hudson going forward. Again, Kyle O'Reilly's another guy. What happens there? They already cut Bobby Fish. I'm not saying they're going to cut any of these guys.
Insane.
Yeah, and I think it would, again, be a big mistake to cut guys like Kyle O'Reilly or a Chapa or a Gargano. Big-time mistakes if they do that. I don't think they're going to do that.
Because you're shooting NXT in the foot here.
Yeah, well, not just NXT. These guys could be great on Raw or SmackDown if used properly. But again, they don't fit the typical Vince McMahon mold that he's been using since the 80s. So just because of that alone, regardless of how, look at a guy like Adam Cole, who we did get a confirmation this week as of Monday. I believe it was actually as of last Friday, but Monday they sent out a memo to people in marketing and all throughout the company in WWE that Adam Cole is no longer a part of the company. So he is not re-signed, and he's not going to re-sign from the way that sounds. So, and Britt Baker, which we'll get into here in just a second as we're going to the Dynamite show, she semi-teased Adam Cole. Not by name, but there were some subtle hints there, as AEW has been doing. So it sounds like Adam Cole's going. But that's, again, another guy, just because of his size, was not going to make it on the main roster. We've seen that countless times before. So smart on him to get out while he can, I think, regardless if it's AEW, wherever he goes. All these guys can't go to AEW. We've talked about this. But there's opportunities in Impact. That is true. And I can't begrudge AEW for signing talent. But yes, you got to be careful with how much you sign, because you can't just not use the guys you've already got. I get all that. We're just going to have to wait and see what they do with that, because Tony Khan's talked about how he's got a lot of other signings he's ready to rock with. But again, expanding with Rampage, and maybe that goes to 2 hours, it may work out just fine. We'll just have to wait and see what they do. But that is a concern. You're right. But hopefully these people will find good work, which they can, even if it doesn't work out at NXT or on the main roster. So we'll see what happens with some of these people. But nothing but the best for them. So that leads into Dynamite this week, our last show of the evening. So, yeah, this is the 100th episode of Dynamite. Hard to believe it's been that long already.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, the 100th. And I thought it was all, for the most part, a good show and a pretty good go-home show, even though they got one more Rampage show before All Out this Sunday, which has got some interesting matchups on it, but we'll get to that here in a minute. The show opened up with, I thought, was a fantastic tag team match. Santana and Ortiz versus FTR with a returning Cash Wheeler after his gruesome injury. I did notice right away, I don't know if you caught it, because they were showing what happened to Cash, but when the match started, I immediately noticed the between the buckle and the ring post, they put padding over the metal. So I was like, smart. That's good on them. So I'm glad they at least addressed that. I don't know. As far as I know, they've never done it before. Obviously not with the Cash Wheeler match. But if that's a new thing, I happen to notice it tonight. So that's a good thing. Yeah, I enjoyed the match. This article talked like it was kind of slightly disappointing. I don't know. What did you think of it?
I didn't see it.
Did you? We were kind of running late coming home from work.
So I didn't get to see that one.
Okay, but yeah, I liked it. Two talented teams going at it. No doubt. But sorry.
I'm just saying I didn't get to see that match, and which sucks because I kind of wanted to, because of what happened last time, and we really did get to see it, and I was super pumped for it because I knew it was going to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm
A match that could have
may
been.
have to go back and watch that one.
Yeah, it's
if
worth
nothing
watching.
else.
I mean, a match that could have been on the pay-per-view if they wanted to. But that pay-per-view is so stacked. Now they did add another match to the pre-show or the buy-in, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But FTR was also sporting some Bobby Eaton tribute gear, so that was pretty cool to see. They obviously have big time respect for the business, as they mentioned on commentary. There's also a spot in this match where Santana hit a Three Amigos and a Frog Splash, paying homage to Eddie Guerrero, which is also great. So yeah, just good back and forth match here altogether. But Santana hit a thrust kick, and they hit another double team inside for an inside out suplex for the win here. They get the win over FTR, which is interesting because FTR, before the match, they said had an 18 match winning streak. So they snapped that winning streak here with Santana and Ortiz. Let's be honest, though. I think Santana and Ortiz does need it a little more at this point than FTR. And with FTR teasing like it may be their final go-around, I hope that's kayfabe. I really don't want to see them not wrestle anymore. Let's hope that's the case. But it could be just storyline they're telling after the injury that Cash suffered. But definitely a good match to open up the show. Daniel Garcia was flanked by 2.0. The tag team hyped up their son, which was Danny Garcia. Garcia, before the latter, said he twist Darby Allin's body and hurt him in ways he couldn't imagine because he faces Darby Allin on Rampage this Friday. So we'll see that match before then. CM Punk come out for a promo, which I know there's a lot of people already online saying CM Punk's getting the Sting treatment. Because when Sting came in, now granted, Sting can't wrestle very often. I mean, he could do it occasionally like he has. But they're already complaining that they're doing this world heel from CM Punk. Next, and all CM Punk does is cut promos. Well, here's the thing. You're not going to have Punk in the ring before Sunday. He's only been here 2 weeks, guys. Once Punk wrestles on Sunday at pay-per-view, I'm sure he'll be in the ring a little more on Dynamite. He's not going to do that right now. So right now, all they have is
he
him
even
talking.
said it himself, though.
Yeah. But what, that he was going to be on the show every week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he said that, about the criticism about.
Yeah, he even mentioned it in the promo. Yeah. He did. He said he was happy to be here. He's going to soak up all the love while he can because this Sunday it could all end. That's what brought out a "You got it" chant, or "You still got it" chant from the crowd. But yeah, right during this, he said, I know some people are probably going to get tired of this. So he I think he's heard the criticism. But at the same time, again, wait till he has the match, and then if he starts doing it week in, week out, and all he does is talk, which there's going to be weeks that does happen. That's fine. But if it becomes 10 weeks in a row,
yeah,
I got you. No problem. But right now, it's okay. Daniel Garcia in 2.0 interrupted and attacked Punk, which I was happy to see. It wasn't just a promo here, so they did do a little something more. So those of you who were complaining, they did try to give you something here. Punk briefly fought them off, but was overwhelmed when Darby Allin and Sting came out to even the odds. They all hit their finishers, the coffin drop, the scorpion death drop, and Punk even pulled out a GTS, which was great to see. The crowd popped big for that in Chicago, so good to see that too. That's what led to Punk and Allin facing off center of the ring, nose to nose, forehead to forehead. This got a lot of reaction from the crowd, no doubt about it. So, again, they really didn't touch too much. They just kind of stared off, said some words to each other. Sting grabbed the microphone, but Punk removed one of the 2.0 members to give him the floor. Sting said he's always wanted to share a ring with Punk, but their paths never crossed. It felt good to see a go to sleep right before his eyes. All three men want this Punk versus Allin match to happen. Sting says he knows both men are going to be ready. When they collide, it's going to be showtime. And Sting even said he's going to fist bump Darby Allin, and he's immediately going to the back. So Sting's vowed not to get involved in this. So good. Nothing wrong with that. We'll probably see Sting for a brief moment. I mean, he may not even come out at all. Maybe he fist bumps him in the back and even stays in the back. I don't know. But it sounds like it's going to be one-on-one, and so good. I'm glad they really didn't do a whole lot here. I still feel like we could get one more stare down on Rampage because they've confirmed Punk will be there since it's Chicago, and Darby has a match. So we still may get one more go-home segment before this pay-per-view, so we'll see. Kenny Omega versus Christian video package played. So, yeah, they're basically talking about that. MJF sat down with Tony Schiavone. MJF, the most disgusting and despicable individual he's ever met is what Schiavone called him. MJF brought up all of Chris Jericho's nicknames. 4 decades on top of professional wrestling, he said. Jericho will be forever etched in the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, but when it's all said and done, MJF will take his place. Jericho's got big shoes to fill, but like Muhammad Ali coming back for one too many fights, Jericho's on a downward spiral. Just like Ali, Jericho's an addict. He needs the spotlight. That's why Jericho put his career on the line. At All Out, MJF will end one of the greatest runs in professional wrestling. It's poetic that the same yearning that brought Jericho to the dance will be the reason the music dies. Again, another good promo by MJF. I mean, he's going to deliver that, no doubt about it. He was taking some criticism from one Jim Cornette, I know, this week about how he feels that AEW has mishandled MJF from the get-go. I half agree with Cornette. Yeah, you're right. I said it. I half disagree with Cornette. I agree with Cornette in the fact that MJF probably needs to wrestle a little bit more often. However, MJF does not need to be wrestling every single week. So I like the fact that they keep MJF as a more of a special attraction. But yes,
I have only good so far.
I agree, and he's got to do more than just cut promos. Much like you could say Jungle Boy needs to do more than just wrestle. He needs to cut more promos. Agreed. So I don't disagree 100% with Jim Cornette what he said, but Jim Cornette is also well known for bashing AEW a lot. Sometimes for good reason.
Not always.
Not
just AEW.
No, yeah,
Jim
it's a lot.
Cornette bashes all of wrestling.
Yeah, he does a lot of times. To be
pretty
fair,
much any chance he gets.
To be fair, that's not entirely inaccurate for sure. But yeah, the MJF stuff, like I said, I'll agree with him to a point. But there comes a point where I don't think professional wrestling is all bad, as a lot of people do. Like I said, we mentioned some good stuff on this show. So as long as we get more of that, and hopefully the best they can do is try to minimize the bad stuff and try to build on the good stuff. So let's hope that continues. Orange Cassidy defeated Jack Evans. To me, it was just kind of, okay, nice Orange Cassidy. There was a spot in this match where they kept doing reversals and go-behinds. The crowd kept going, oh, every time they flipped. I thought it was a fun spot. Kind of cheesy, depending on if you like that sort of thing or not. I don't know. Orange is not for everybody. But yeah, he basically won this match here. He hit a Michinoku driver for 2. Then he hit his weak kicks before the standing switches. They eventually broke, and Orange climbed the ropes, but Evans cut him off, and they battled at the top. The match somehow ended during commercial break, though. That's my nitpick of this. I don't know if you caught that. But they were about to come back from commercial break, and Orange rolled him up for the win. And they come back. At least they showed the replay, but it's like, whoa, dude. You got to time that better with the commercial break and show that the ending on the main show. Don't let us see that picture-in-picture. So that needs to be changed. So that's a nitpick for sure. Yeah, after the match, Hardy attacked when Chuck Taylor and Wheeler Yuta came out to make the save, but the rest of the Hardy family offices overwhelmed the Best Friends with a numbers advantage, and Jungle Express ran out to said HFO package. So kind of saving their good friends here, the Best Friends. So, but as we've talked about, sometimes that gang warfare stuff in AEW has been a little overused. They pulled back on it here lately, but this is one they've kind of brought in here. Hardy's got this one of the bigger factions. And of course we'll get into the elite here, in a little bit. But yeah, so not a bad segment, but just kind of it was a match to have. Hey, Orange Cassidy's on the show. Let's get the crowd happy with it. So they did that. Eddie Kingston addressed Miro's status as God's favorite champion. So Eddie was basically like, we'll take your title and then you won't be God's favorite anymore. Then Miro came back with another part of the video package where he gave it his own promo. He came back saying the Mad King will realize that redemption only comes after agony. This is the word of the Redeemer. He also said that he lays down for nobody. The only person he lays down for is his wife in a hotel room after the victories that he has. So again, just I don't know why. The stuff he says about his wife is absolutely gold. So, yeah, I expect CJ Perry Lana to show up soon. John Moxley's Kojima video promo played. This looks like they're definitely building this up as a big match, so hopefully this will be good. I think it will be. Then we had Chris Jericho in-ring interview with Jim Ross. Jim Ross sounded he was about to cry introducing Chris Jericho here. It was really interesting. Jericho said, "Welcome to Chicago is Jericho." He said he hasn't used that line in a long time, but he thought he'd break it out here. Jericho said he started his main event journey in the business 22 years ago in Chicago. JR was the one who recruited him to start that journey. JR asked why Jericho chose such an extreme stipulation for his match with MJF. Jericho started out with this. He said, "MJF, you're a piece of shit." However, he's diabolical and arrogant just like Jericho, and all MJF has over Jericho are 3 victories. That's when in my head I thought, well, he has also got, age on you as well. But we'll not mention that part, I suppose. The reason Jericho's in AEW is that he never can be complacent. There was never a guarantee that they would succeed, and here they are on episode 100 as the hottest wrestling company in the world today. There would be some people who would disagree with that. I happen to agree, but there's going to be others who don't. Ratings, not necessarily, but when it comes to popularity and word of mouth, yeah. Jericho could stick around for a lot longer, he said, but every time he'd look in the mirror and he'd think, you couldn't beat MJF. But you know what? Jericho doesn't want it to be the end. He wants more. He doesn't want it to stop, and that's why he has to take the chance. If something goes wrong on Sunday and his journey is right here where it began in Chicago, so be it. He will move to the commentary desk full time, and he will thank everyone for their support. Jericho said,
that's what's going to happen.
You think so? What? We'll get to it in a second. Jericho said MJF would not take this away from him. If MJF wants to take Jericho out, he's going to have to be the best he's ever been. That's not going to happen because he's Chris Jericho. MJF doesn't have what it takes to get rid of him. I'll see you on Sunday at All Out, you little prick. I know you felt that way, but I'm going to hold to my thing. I think Jericho's winning this.
I get why, but at the same time, like,
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win.
Jericho, honestly, the whole point from the jump was to help them get this thing going.
Yes, I agree.
Push these stars to get some of these guys' names in people's mouths, and he's done that job.
Yeah, he did everything.
I'm not saying this shit like, he needs to retire. That's not where this is coming from. This is coming from a place of like, Jericho did what he set out to do.
Agreed.
Now it's time for him to sit back and contribute in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I honestly think this was his idea, and he's totally okay with this because this does nothing but further the fame of legitimately one of the best heels, and could go down in the wrestling history books as one of the best heels.
It's definitely going to be something MJF could hang his hat on for years to come. Not only sending him into retirement, but beating him 4 times and doing it. You're not wrong. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I'm not going to hate if they do that because you're right. It is good for MJF in that regard. However, this is very final. If they were going to do that with Jericho, let's say he gets the itch to wrestle another match later. This he can't do unless they break the step. To me, it would almost be like, all right, MJF beat me. I'm taking a step away. You could say that. But he says, I'm never going to wrestle at AEW again. So a part of me thinks that's why he will win. And it won't necessarily hurt MJF because he's got the 3-1 advantage on him, if that's the case. But, again, if Jericho does lose this and he never wrestles for AEW again, I'm not going to be totally shocked because, again, he's got Fozzy. He's getting up there. He's not the wrestler he once was, but he's still decent. But he is slowing down at his age, and he very well.
Jericho also knows when to hang it up.
That's true too. Maybe he's smart enough to do that, and I hope he is.
He's also the kind of guy who knows it's better to go out on your back.
Yeah,
pushing up another star.
And if that is the case, at least he is going out like that, and I'm grateful for that. As
like this is one of those situations where you're strapping a big rocket on someone's back.
Absolutely, and you've been building this entire thing around that too. So that's going to have a lot of people, if Jericho wins, will be like, well, what was the point? I wouldn't go that far, but
it's a healthy and very notable concern if you do that.
Well, I'm not saying they'd be totally wrong, but at the same time, I just feel like it doesn't necessarily hurt MJF because he, like I said, he's got the advantage. But again, Jericho, as you said, he's done everything they've asked him to do. He carried their world title. He established the company. He helped to do that. And now they've got enough talent.
Everything else.
They've got enough talent to move on without him if they need to.
He's been to Japan. He's been to England. He's been to Mexico.
And technically, he can still wrestle in Japan. It's just AEW he can't wrestle.
He's won every title imaginable.
Yeah.
He unified 2 fucking times.
But that's the one thing I do admire AEW for. The Fuego del Sol thing, you could argue maybe they didn't honor the step, but it was not like a step like this. So far, they have honored the Cody Rhodes can never challenge for an AEW world title step. This is another one that would be big like that. If they pull the trigger on this, they have to honor it. And if they don't, they've got to come up with some very creative way, like to say if Cody ever challenged for the title. Like MJF would have to let him out of the steppers. I don't know. But for the most part, this is it, I think, if Jericho
Because
loses.
Here's the thing. If Jericho beats MJF here, in what world is that going to sit okay with MJF? Well, you have to end this feud at some point. This is a huge
that's
stipulation.
True. Yeah. You might be right. I mean, if he wins, that's the end of it. If he doesn't win, I still think you take a break from it for a while. Just move on. But yeah, you are convincing me that this
But
very
you
well
can't,
could
though.
be.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because in the same sense, if MJF loses, he's a megalomaniac, especially when it comes to Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
There is no effing way he just sits idly back and accepts his loss.
Well, not only that, and you're not wrong, absolutely. MJF is still undefeated in AEW. He's never lost, which is another reason they probably don't put him in the ring all the time because they're trying to keep that. Which, again, kudos to them. And they're trying not to give him like a 20, 30-0 record. They're trying to keep it relatively on the low end of that because he's a special attraction. But yeah, if he loses to Jericho here, he would also be suffering his first loss at AEW. So yeah, the more I think about it, you might be right. Maybe it's just me hoping this is the end for him because I'm a fan of Jericho. But narratively speaking, you might be absolutely correct. And if that's the case, I get it. And it would build a mystique of MJF, no doubt about that. So we'll see what they do. Yeah, I agree. After this, Darby Allin in a video package addressed CM Punk, much like Punk did on Rampage last week, and they ran it over darks and things like that. Punk was his favorite wrestler as a kid, he said, but Punk's already overlooking him when he said that you're first. So I like that. Little bit of he took what he said and all right, I took that as an insult because what do you mean I'm first? You think I'm just going to be somebody you're going to walk all over? So I like that. He's going to beat Punk in Chicago or he will die trying. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. Again, I don't think Punk's losing it All Out because they even mentioned a couple times on the show. Imagine if Punk were to lose his first match. Maybe they're planning the season. They are going to do that, but I just don't think they do that. I think Punk is winning. But Darby, this is going to be one of those things. They're going to have hopefully a good match. We'll see how Punk looks. That Darby will still get over in a loss. But again, I don't think it hurts either guy.
That's a tricky one, though.
It's very tricky. It's almost like you booked yourself into a corner, but I don't think you really have too much because, again, if Darby also won't hurt him, Punk losing would probably hurt Punk more than it would Darby losing at this point.
But you got to prop Darby up before
you do. You've got to make him look like a star. And you've definitely got to do a thing or something like after the match, I think, where they show mutual respect, much like McIntyre did with Priest on Raw.
Yeah.
You've got to do that.
Yeah.
You've got to do that. The way they both come off looking like great to this crowd. The crowd loves both of them at the end of this show or their segment or whatever it is, and you've got to do that. I think
it's one of those situations where Darby has really gained a lot of traction.
Yeah,
really fast, and you kind of don't really want to screw that up.
No, you don't. I agree. You got to be
but
very
I
careful.
also get that it's CM Punk and
in Chicago at that. You beat Punk in Chicago. I just don't know, man. You know what I'm saying? I think you have to beat Darby here. But again, it's how you do it.
You have to beat Darby here. And you're right. It's all about the execution. But it's also, too, you have to go somewhere with Darby from after that.
Oh, absolutely. I still think at some point you need to break Sting away from Darby. Like, say, hey, you got this. I've given you all I can. And I don't know what you do with Sting at that point. He can do. I mean, you don't necessarily do it right away, but I think sooner rather than later, it'd behoove Darby to get away from Sting, and Sting can go do help somebody else who's in more of a need because Darby is over, so it'll be fine. But we'll see what they do. But
but you don't want to have Sting be this constant babysitter either, man.
Well, no, of course not. He's there to push the younger talent, I guess you could say Taz or Paul White at some point. Part of me wants to see Paul White lose, but after the way they booked it tonight, I don't know if he's going to. That's going to be a thing. It's kind of like, I don't know why we're even doing it, but it's because Paul White wanted a match when he signed on AEW, and I think this is going to be one of those.
Didn't he lose it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, granted, QT losing, it's not going to hurt QT because QT's a coach, but I get it. It would benefit QT more, no doubt.
Here's the thing. Paul White's a commentator.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess you're right about that. But I mean, former wrestler is all right. Right.
Still 7 feet, whatever.
Well, they definitely set it up tonight. Like if Paul White loses, though, maybe it's not all Paul White's fault. There's a little bit of something that could cause that. So they kind of left that out there, like he may be hurt. But we'll get into that in just a second. Next match, Taz came out for commentary. That was Powerhouse Hobbs versus Brian Cage. He defeated Brian Cage here after Ricky Starks hit Cage with the FTW Championship. Hobbs then hit an Oklahoma Stampede for the win. So this is kind of distraction finish type deal, which sucks. I don't know.
Listen, this is one feud I don't need.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going. I mean, they did the FTR stuff with the FTW stuff, I should say, with the title belt. Why is this continuing? He's broken away from team. I get they're trying to tie up this Taz stuff, but it feels like they're not tying it up. It just feels like it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And going.
Yeah. It's like a never-ending knot.
Yeah, I agree. So, the sooner you wrap this up, the better. Move on with both guys.
Yeah.
Move on with both factions, and do something else. Malachi Black delivered a video package to Lee Johnson, 7 days to atone for his involvement at the end of last week's Dynamite. I don't know when they're going to do this match. I'm guessing probably on a Dynamite soon. Probably. Maybe next week or something. Well, they didn't say. But again, I feel like this is probably going to lead to Dustin, which will probably lead back to Cody at some point. Maybe. That's just my assumption. I know you're kind of like, you're over the Cody thing, I think. But again, as long as they use this, as you said, to build Malachi, I think it's fine.
Why, though? Didn't he already beat Cody?
He did. But, Cody, I don't know if Cody's going to let that go. I know Cody has his haters right now, no doubt about it. I don't necessarily see, outside of Cody beating certain younger talents when he was TNT champion, I get it, you didn't want to beat the championship, you're trying to build it. But somebody like Black, I don't think they're dumb enough to have Cody beat.
Then why have him beat Cody twice?
To further Malachi, because Cody is a top star, or was a top star at AEW. That's just the way it is. But yeah, I mean, I think for now it serves best for maybe have Cody take a break for sure, which he is doing at the moment. But I just feel like it isn't probably a long time. But if they're building to the Cody Rhodes retirement, much like Jericho, maybe Malachi Black puts Cody Rhodes out of the business. I don't know. We'll see. They did tease that a little bit, so we'll see what they do. QT Marshall and the Factory were in the ring. QT called out Paul White. He said, "Come out. It's just gonna be me and you." Of course, he's got the entire behind him, which was weird. Some of these guys I've never even seen before.
So I was cooking.
I think they're just indie geeks or something.
So I'm listening to the promo, and he says that, and I look over the TV, and I look at Miranda, and I go, "How many people in that ring?"
Well, that's the point, though. He's saying it's going to be just me and you, but then that's the point of the promo.
Then they fucking squared up, and I'm like,
First of all, Paul, you're an idiot for jumping in there, but he did do the big roar spot out of the corner, which it's going to be, Big Show, all these jobbers got thrown to the side. Then he basically fought all these people off, and after he destroyed everybody, QT hightailed it. The Gun Club with Billy, Colton, and Austin all came out, and in my head, I'm thinking, where were you 2 seconds ago when this ring was full of guys to make the save? So that right there started to tip me off. But I didn't think. But then they kept lingering on this, and I saw Billy Gunn with the chair. I'm going, uh-oh. But at first I was like, that made no sense. Timing issue? What happened? But then apparently as Paul White and QT were jaw-jacking, Billy Gunn whacked Paul White in his surgically repaired hip. So, again, they kind of set this up. First of all, the Gun Club turned heel. Are they joining the Factory?
Do something with them because
yeah, at least for the two younger Gun cases.
But that's the thing too. Like, don't keep adding people to shit that don't. Like, it makes.
Yeah, they really had no point here, unless QT's just recruiting, but everybody's recruiting right now. So, and that's not just WWE, NXT. There's a lot of people doing that stuff. But
that shit is weird.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're joining QT's deal or not, but they definitely turn unless that's Paul White's next match against Billy Gunn.
They had to.
Oh Lord,
no, because even QT was surprised by the shit.
Well, he acted.
Situation where it's like
maybe acted.
What was their motivation?
Well, that I don't know. We'll find out that later. But
way better.
Unless QT just paid him off. I know QT acted surprised, and maybe it was genuine surprise that he had nothing to do with it. But they could be playing on the fact that he just acted surprised and he did have everything to do with it.
No, when you act surprised when you know what's happening, it's always that.
Sometimes, unless you want to keep it going, and then maybe next week it happens again, and then eventually it's revealed QT was behind it. It was me all along, Austin. I don't know, but I'm just saying there's that possibility. But yeah, you're right. A lot of times it turns out they're like, yeah, that was my plan. But
past this cheap heel shit, okay?
But yeah,
there's no more pulling the cow back, and it's Vince McMahon. It's like, fuck, no, duck it off.
It's happened before. Don't be shocked if QT's behind this. But
we're past that.
But yeah, this Paul White QT stuff outside of the pay-per-view match, hopefully it'll be quick, short, out of the way, and let's get this over with. This does not need to be on our television screens. I agree. It's a waste of time, really. Glad to see QT getting some, because I like QT. Do more with him, no doubt, but put him in something more meaningful than this. I think.
Something more substantial.
Again, a lot of people were speculating. I don't know if they're going to go this route. That this may lead to the eventual return of Anthony Ogogo, and it would be the knockout punch against Paul White's knockout punch. Again, I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but that's been the speculation. At least that would make a little sense, but it's still not good. So don't look at me like that. The punch against the punch. Yeah, I know it's not great, but. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but hopefully that does not happen. I don't know if that's
you better hope that doesn't happen.
I'm not saying it'll be good. I'm just saying it may be where they're going, but it's not going to be my favorite feud. That's for sure.
And if they throw a punch and Paul doesn't punch him in the hand at the same time, and Anthony Ogogo breaks his fucking hand, I'm fucking done.
About hurt Roddy Piper over here, but anyhow.
Even Roddy was like, I'm not standing.
He's like, yeah, literally. Agreed. Next up, Dr. Britt Baker was in the back, was interviewed by Tony Schiavone with Rebel and Jamie Hayter standing next to her. Rebel and Jamie Hayter were announced to be in the Casino Battle Royal at All Out. They also announced Kiera Hogan on Dark. They announced Emi Sakura and Hikaru Shida on top of all the women who were already announced. So we have 17 women now. So we've currently got 4 unnamed women in this match. Possible some surprises. We'll have to wait and see. But they may name somebody else on Rampage. We'll just have to wait and see.
No, I think one of the surprises will probably be what.
I think it's gonna be Ruby Soho. She's been video packaging all over the place on Twitter and things like that. Now we could get Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, the former Iconics, now called Inspiration. We could get them. There's also, CJ Perry Lana. I don't think her no complete clause is up yet. But there are some women out there for sure. But yeah, most likely Ruby Soho maybe pulls the Joker card is my guess here. But we'll have to wait and see. Which would be a good addition as long as they could develop her. I know she's still not the best talent yet, but she's developing it. Hopefully she'll get more of a chance to, hold her skills at AEW if that were the case. So I have no problem with that.
How many women recently got released other than, Iconics?
She was one of the recent cuts, yes. But I think it's been a bit. It was one of the a little bit farther back than just recently. So she's been out there a little bit. But yeah, I think she'd be available about this point, so we'll see what they do. Britt Baker said that she will defend against one of them when they eventually win. She was, of course, Shivani's like, you just going to overlook Chris Statlander like that? And she was about to announce some free agent news. This is the tease. I have big free agent news, from Britt Baker of all people. The hits there is Adam Cole. But that news was just that Britt Baker was going to be around for a long time, and she just signed a long-term contract, she said. But again, little tease. As part of contract negotiations, Baker asked that Chris Statlander be a part of a handicap match on Rampage this week. So Statlander will face Rebel and Jamie Hayter on Rampage, furthering that title match setup, I'm sure. So we'll see what happens. Ty Conti then defeated Penelope Ford. This was actually, I thought, a decent match for women's wrestling. I thought it wasn't it wasn't a barn burner, but
I couldn't tell what the crowd was saying at one point.
They were actually saying this is awesome at one point, which I don't know if I go that far.
I was going to say, because I don't know if it was awesome or awful. I couldn't hear it.
There was
it wasn't mind-blowing.
No, it was more smooth than a lot. And I'm not saying AEW.
A couple spots that was
right, and I'm not saying AEW has the best women's division. I know they've taken a lot of criticism, but there seems to be a lot of women's divisions outside of the old NXT roster that are bad. Raw and SmackDown are pretty terrible in the women's division too. A lot of those girls can't wrestle, unfortunately.
One of the only things I think bothered me was she took those 3, big step-up kicks, or I'm talking about the big jump kicks. And then she no-sold it, reversed the move to that gut buster. And I was like, man, you could have sold that a little better.
At least she didn't just stand up from a pinfall like Nia Jax did. You didn't see that either, did you? Get Jax literally, Charlotte went for a pinfall and Nia just stood up. It's like, what the fuck? But no, you're right though. You gotta get the selling down for sure. You gotta make sure you suffer these spots.
It was just that spot for me.
I understand. Yeah, I get it. Ford distracted the official, and Bunny got involved, but Conti pushed Bunny off the apron and was rolled up by Ford for the win. You could argue that's a distraction roll-up finish.
That was weird, too.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to pull Bunny up, and then Bunny really couldn't get up at first, and then she got up there. But then she looks back to see where she is, hesitates, and then ducks, and I was like, y'all could have done those smooth. But again, it's little shit.
I'm not going to lie, though. If I'm going to criticize WWE for it, I've always said I'm going to be fair as much as if I forget to be fair, I apologize. But in this case, I'm going to be fair. A couple instances tonight, AEW had distraction finishes. Yeah. This one in particular, distraction roll-up. That's WWE formula. Don't make that be a habit. Don't start that, AEW, or otherwise you're going to start turning some fans off. Now, for the most part tonight, they had some clean wins and things like that, so it's fine occasionally. Like we've always said, you can do it occasionally. So, again, I'm not going to kill AEW too much for it here.
When it narrative.
Yeah. And Ford is a new member of this Hardy faction here with Buddy, so they're trying to establish Ford helping out the Buddy. I get it. So, again, some narrative makes sense there, but just try not to overdo it, please. I'm begging you. After the match, Ford and Bunny attacked Conti, but the Dark Order's music played, and the returning Anna Jay chased them off, and then they announced that she will be a part of the Casino Battle Royal. She is one of the 17 named members now. So, still 4 secret opponents. We'll have to wait and see. Thunder Rosa was asked backstage about her chances of winning the Casino Battle Royale, but Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill showed up. Rosa said she'd go down swinging and attacked Rose, but both of them beat her down. Rose and Cargill faced off, but their respective managers cooled them down, and they walked away. Not sure what this was about. I just kind of feel like I don't feel like this was necessary.
2 things with this. The first shot she hit Thunder Rosa threw at
Nyla.
Nyla just looked at her and then sold.
Yeah.
I was like, let's get it together.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But yeah, to me, it's like, what was the point of doing this, though? Like,
I don't know.
I guess you want to make Nyla and Jade look strong, but obviously Thunder's over. I get it. Heels are picking on the babyface, but
you didn't do anything.
This to me, it wasn't necessary to build the match on Sunday, which is on the buy-in anyway. You didn't have to do this to Thunder Rosa. Now maybe Thunder Rosa's winning the match. I don't know, but again, that's weird. Take a deep breath. He's trying to speak, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you on the audio only.
I'm trying to figure out how to word this.
Right.
Sounding like an asshole.
Uh-huh.
You didn't need any of this.
No, it was unnecessary.
To serve the purpose that you were trying to serve. You could have just had Thunder Rosa cut a nice little babyface promo and then have those 2 opposing chicks walk in right as she was done, her look at him,
stare down,
walk away.
Yeah. Well, and Jade had already cut a video package on Dark anyway, so there's no need for Jade to come out at all. I mean.
And then the fact that when Thunder Rosa popped Nyla, Jade stood there for a couple of shots.
Right.
And just watched.
Yeah. It was awkward. There's no need for this, but I guess they felt like they needed to have a quick segment to transition. Basically, what they transitioned to was the lineup over the next few days and week. Rampage, I guess that's where we're getting so CM Punk will speak on Rampage Friday. Darby Allin versus Daniel Garcia. We will be getting Malachi Black versus Lee Johnson Friday on Rampage, so there's that. Chris Statlander versus Rebel and Jamie Hayter, and of course Miro will speak again, probably mentioning his smoking hot wife. Next week on Dynamite, Jon Moxley will be in his hometown of Cincinnati, so that'll be cool. Then of course they ran through the entire All Out card. They did add a 10-man match or a 10-man tag to the buy-in. It's not listed here, but if I remember correctly, it was Jungle Express. I think it's the Best Friends versus Private Party, Matt Hardy, and what was it, Top Flight? Or no, not Top Flight. Jack Evans and his partner. So it's the Hardy Family Office versus Jungle Express and Best Friends. So that could be fun for the buy-in for sure. Get the crowd going early. At least Jungle Express is getting on the show, so that's good. No doubt about that. Orange Cassidy as well. So that'll happen on the buy-in. But of course, we have the 10 matches already announced. Since the Malachi Black and Lee Johnson match is happening on Rampage, there still is that chance they can add Malachi Black to All Out, but we'll see if they do or not. But yeah, that we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. It's kind of a stacked card right now, and you've got, it sounds like at least 2 matches, or maybe 3 on the buy-in, and then the other 7 or 8 are on the main show. So it's getting awful crowded. It would have to be something quick.
Do you really need Paul White and QT though on the main show?
I think it's supposed to be. Last I heard, it was going to be on the buy-in, but then they added that 10-man to the buy-in. We know the casino's on the buy-in, but if it's an hour buy-in, you could do 3 matches on the buy-in like you do on Rampage every week. So it's possible. So there may only be 9 matches on something like that on the main show. But so there's maybe a little room for Malachi. We'll see what they do though. Video package played, hyping up MJF versus Jericho. Focused on Jericho's career. Then we had the main event. The Young Bucks and the Good Brothers defeated the Lucha Brothers and Jungle Express. Very fun 8-man tag, but this was chaos.
But you beat
agreed.
your number one contender.
They did. I agree. Who was it they pinned exactly?
Phoenix.
Did they pin Phoenix? Okay. Phoenix looks absolutely great in this match, as he always does. But yeah, I mean, the match was great, a lot of fun. But a lot of it boiled down to, again, they pinned Phoenix, but the Elite got involved.
But that's not the point.
I understand, but the whole argument here is, the whole point of this, as we'll get into here, was the fact they're building the fact that the cage is going to stop all this on Sunday.
Okay,
assuming
fine.
the
still could have did all of that.
You could have, and maybe pinned Jungle Express.
Boy or Luchasaurus.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You're not wrong. But yeah, I think that's how they're justifying it though with the interference. I'm just saying that. But yes, you're not wrong. But yeah, the whole idea of this is just kind of saying, all right, Kenny jumps in at some point. Christian comes down to make the save. They destroy Christian. The Young Bucks continue to beat up the Lucha Brothers. That's when Kenny demands Don Callis to lower the cage because he stole some keys to the cage truck or whatever it was from Tony Khan.
He said Tony Khan didn't lock his office or something.
Right, yeah.
And he kept the keys to the cage in his office, and now he has them. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and so they were able to control the cage. They lowered it down, which... Again, driving the point home, the cage will keep those in and those out. I liked how they did that because we've seen in other companies where that doesn't stop anybody from getting in the ring or anybody from getting out. Now, that doesn't mean you still can't do that, but I don't think AEW is going to bill it like this and then have that happen. Because Jungle Boy, Marco Stunt, Frankie Kazarian, they all tried to get in to save the Lucha Brothers and Christian, but they kept getting cut off at the pass by the Good Brothers or Cutler or whatever it might be, and they kept getting knocked out. So
they kept getting sprayed with hairspray.
Well, that too, but they were using certain ways to keep them out.
Everybody else was getting beat up by everybody else after they handcuffed them to the rope.
Well, no, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson had... Gallows and Anderson had kendo sticks, so they were beating them off with that.
They did have,
but Cutler was using his hairspray, absolutely, or the cold spray or whatever they call it. So yes, they did do that, but they were trying to keep them out. That was the point they were driving home here. So I'm glad they did that. So again, I think
what's the excuse if somebody actually makes it in the ring?
Well, I'm going to be a little more upset about that because what do you mean excuse? I wouldn't make an excuse for it because to me, if you're going to play the story that the cage keeps people out, you better do that.
And who's supposed to be in the Lucha Brothers corner here?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So who's going to stop anybody from the Elite from interfering?
Well, I mean, if they were to try. But I got a feeling we're just not going to see any of them come out. Now, unless they try to pull that trick. But then you got, how many guys are not on the card? Frankie Kazarian, the Elite Hunter. You can pull in whoever to come out and help. But again, I got a feeling they're just going to do in the cage. Nobody's going to try. It's just going to. That's my assumption. But yeah, if they have somebody come out, they're going to have Lucha Brothers are going to have maybe Pac comes out there.
Pac's going to be busy. Wait.
Well,
are they not doing that with Idolo and Pac?
No, they're doing that on the show. But it just depends on where it's booked on the show. If Pac has already wrestled or he's not wrestled yet, if he's already wrestled for sure, as long as he won, maybe if he loses, maybe he should be selling the loss. I don't know. I'm just saying, from the way I understand it, it's probably going to be just those two teams. Maybe Don Callis. But I think Lucha Brothers can handle Don Callis. But yeah, since there's a case, they may feel like, well, there's no point going out there. We can't get in anyway. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see. Well, now I'm sure by then Tony Khan will get the key. They're not going to have the key pro, and they could. I mean, they could, but you know what I'm saying. I just don't think they're going to pull that out. But we'll see what they. But yeah, this is definitely one of those I'm going to be watching with a keen eye because, again, I give them the benefit of the doubt because normally when they tease a stip like this, they pull through with it. It may not always be the greatest match sometimes, but when they're going to tell you they're going to do something like this and adhere to the fact that no one's going to get in the cage, they usually don't let you down. So until they do, I'm not going to crap on them.
They're going to have that key, and they're going to open the door to that fucking cage.
Well, if they do, that's going to suck, and it's going to get criticized by not just me, by a lot of other people. So I think if you're going to do this and tell this story, you better stick to it. And I'll be the first guy. You watch next Tuesday on our show when we put that review up. If they do that, I'm going to crap on it. So You can hold me to that. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, this is basically, hit BTE triggers on, Christian and everybody. It's completely laying everybody out as they close the show. And again, they're just teasing the fact with that. Plus, if the Young Bucks lose, it's going to be the beginning of the end of the Elite, or at least their reign with the belts.
Why you would beat Christian though, or beat him down like that at the end of that? Because normally that's one of the things of the champion stand tall.
Sometimes, yeah. Like Paul White loses, you might win on Sunday. Yeah. I get that, but at the same time, I would agree with you had they not had Christian already beat him for a title. That helps this, but you're not wrong.
That has nothing to do with this company.
Huh?
That title has nothing to do with this company.
I agree, but they still had to beat Kitty on our AEW show.
Yeah.
So there is that.
That is still so weird to me.
That they beat Kitty? Again, outside interference by the Bucks, who ended up hurting Kitty. So
he beat Kenny
yeah,
for a title for another company.
I know, but that's another conversation.
On their show, and then he retired said title.
No, he retired the TNA title. Yeah. He didn't retire he retired one of the two. He still has the Impact title. I get it. It was pointless to carry around two belts. I get it. But I think it is. I still don't think Christian's winning the title. I mean, they could. No. But I don't know. I would. That would be another thing. I'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? I mean, to me, it's Adam Hangman and Page's belt whenever he comes back. But again, this is going to be the Bucks losing the titles. Christian's going to put on a good match. It's going to start to show those cracks in the Elite. I think that's what they're doing. But we'll have to wait and see what they do it All Out. But
I'm telling you, if the Bucks don't lose that, even if nobody interferes, the Bucks don't lose. This is one of the situations where it's like, but why though?
I think it's the easiest call in the world for the Lucha Brothers to win those belts. So if they don't do it,
but I also talked to me and Judy were talking about this, and he was like, well, maybe if they give it to the Lucha Bros and then Jurassic Express can. And I go, but then why the hell could you make the Lucha Brothers transitional champions at that point? If that's the case, their end goal is to put those titles 2 months down the road on Jurassic Express. Should just beat the Bucks.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that because AEW doesn't do transitional champions much. Whenever someone holds the belt, they hold it for a bit to establish them as a relevant champion, which is what they should do.
That's what I was saying to him. I was like, I don't think that's happening. Because again, if that was your plan, then you just should have went that route from the jump.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and they could have had him beat the Bucks weeks ago, or get the rematch here and do it. But I just don't think that's what they're going to do. But I mean, who's to say they won't do that one day? And again, transitional champions I think are okay. It's kind of one of those things occasionally, but WWE does it all the time. But even occasionally, it makes the reign pointless for that champion. I prefer it when it means something.
It doesn't make narrative sense. This is all hypothetical here. Mm-hmm. If your goal was to put the belts on Jurassic Express, again, hypothetical.
Right.
So then, given opportunity, said tag team tournament, they should have won said tournament. Instead of giving the belts to somebody else, and the Bucks lose, which if they were going to lose the titles anyway, then it really didn't matter if they lost. You get what I'm saying? Like,
right?
Am I making sense here?
Yeah, I got you.
So it's like, why give another team the belts, but they're already involved in something else?
Yeah, and I get that with Pac and Andrade. Unless they've got something planned with the titles involving Andrade and stuff later. They may. We'll just have to wait and see. They may have a plan for that. But even if they don't, maybe Pac or Lucha Brothers are just like, we're out on both. We don't want to be with either one of you guys. And maybe they go off and do their own. They very well could do that. And if they do, great. There's nothing wrong with that either. That might leave Pac in an interesting spot. But again, he's just fine on his own as long as they do something with him. As long as you don't just forget him on the wayside. But yeah, Death Triangle, we'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, I think that's totally where they're going. The Elite's going to start to crumble here. Probably by the end of the year, we're going to see the Elite either broken up or at least without all the power. So
I just didn't like the way what they did with them. It was so.
They did it like it felt like because I know the fact that the end of the Elite is probably coming. This is like one last time we could be like, hey, we're the NWO, we're going to kill these guys, we're the top of the business, blah 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 blah. Rubbing it in people's faces. And
but it was even one of those situations when they started changing, look, all that shit.
again, it was one of those things where they did it because at the time they were doing shit in spite of WWE.
Right.
And then it just felt like it got out of hand and they were like, nah, just fucking roll with it.
I don't know if it was in spite of WWE, but they were definitely doing the gimmick for sure.
Critics. Yeah.
Okay, their fans were criticizing. Okay. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, I get it. It was a joke. It was funny at first. And then it just got weird.
Now they're just trying to do it as a heel gimmick, which that's
Yeah,
fine. But I think eventually that's probably going to
mutton
stop
chops
too.
got to go, man.
I think they kind of realize it's probably not long.
Weird ass mustache, handlebars.
Hey, I think Kenny's looks okay, but the Bucks is a little odd. But yeah, I mean, Kenny's got that Triple H stash from back to 2001 or 2005.
Look, Kenny can crack on it all he want. That stash was the shit. All right?
Yeah. No, I mean, Hunter made it work. I think Kenny's pulled it off pretty well too, as a completely heterosexual male here. I'm just going to say,
Brother.
but anyhow, that I was saying. I guess that's a good note to end on here. That will do it for our WWE Pro and AEW Pro Wrestling Recap show.
Yes.
Recapping SmackDown, Rampage, Raw, NXT, and AEW Dynamite. Next week it'll probably just be Raw, NXT, and AEW Dynamite because we'll probably go over SmackDown and Rampage when we do our All Out review on Monday night, and we'll drop it Tuesday morning on the channel. So keep an eye out for that. But if you're finding this for the very first time, like I said before, please hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
I got nothing.
He was trying to come up with something witty to say, but he didn't. It just God.
I couldn't. Blank.
Bye.
We must turn it on.